of this community, that they will come together and work together to make this a better place for our families to live, work, and play. Father in heaven, we are grateful to Thee for how blessed we are. We pray for Thy guiding spirits once again to be with us this evening, and that we may be found worthy of Thy many blessings. And we say these things now humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you for opening us in prayer, and please thank your ward for the work they do in our community. It's appreciated. Thank you. Let's begin with roll call. Rodriguez?
Here.
That was classic.
That was, wasn't it?
Bruner?
Here.
Mucci?
Here.
Levi? Here. Haverfield?
Here.
Bauer?
Here.
As we get started, a couple of things I want to share. One thing, and that is, so for those that are watching online and any audio that people hear, we have plexiglass between each one of the members sitting at this bench. And so when people don't see us with a mask on, it's because, one, we can hear better, but two, we've gone with the precaution of the plexi between us. And so, and to those, we've got a council chamber with people with all their masks on. I just want to say thank you. We really do support the physical distancing and the wearing of masks, but I just don't want there to be any misunderstanding with our council members as we sit here, because we are distanced to protect one another. So that said, proposed amendments to the agenda, I am not aware of any. Debbie, are you aware of any?
None that I know of.
Council? Nope. Okay, so we are not aware of any proposed amendments to the agenda. With that, I would request a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Randy? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Bruner?
Yes.
Levi? Bauer?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes. Thank you. So we have one proclamation this evening, and that proclamation, as I get to it, is actually really wanting to recognize our healthcare workers. So this is Healthcare Worker Appreciation Month, and I'd like to read this proclamation. Whereas since the onset of COVID-19 pandemic, Idaho's healthcare workers have exemplified what it means to be heroic, and whereas healthcare workers at Idaho's hospital and long-term care facilities put the safety and well-being of the patients and residents in their charge ahead of their own health. And whereas NAMPA supports our healthcare workers by doing our part, by wearing face coverings, avoiding gatherings with people outside our household, continuing to keep safe physical distance and washing our hands regularly. And whereas healthcare workers are trying to meet the social and emotional needs of patients because many families are still unable to visit their loved ones. And whereas in order to relieve pressure on our healthcare workers, the City of Nampa shares its gratitude for our healthcare heroes in Idaho by minimizing transmissible moments this holiday season. Now, therefore, I, Debbie Klingmeyer, the City of Nampa, Idaho, do hereby proclaim December 2020 as Healthcare Worker Appreciation Month, encouraging our community to reach out to healthcare workers with personal expressions of gratitude and appreciation as we offer our thanks for their good work in service to our community. I don't know what more to say on that other than our healthcare workers are, you know what, I hear some of them are tired, they're working very hard. We so appreciate them, their sacrifice, their work. And And I just want to say that, this year, makes me take a deep breath, and I have to say I am teary. It is a tough season. Over Thanksgiving, as many other people did. And you know what, this Christmas, and I'll say honestly, with my husband's health issues, I don't know that we'll have another full Christmas. But you know what, we're not getting together as a full family this year. We're going to see them carefully, but we're going to be careful. We're going to respect the multiple family gathering. We're not going to have our kids all together, and our kids really are disappointed in that. But you know what? I want to be an example, and I want to honor those others and our healthcare workers. And you know what? I miss my mom and my sister that have health issues. Don't know when I get to see them again, and I did not go visit them. And I haven't seen them for a long time. It's been probably a year and 3 months since I've been back to get to visit. And you know what? But life is what it is. And you know what? Out of respect. There's a scripture that says, love your neighbor as yourself. So with that, I realize I'm going to love my neighbors. I'm going to love my family. And even though I don't like wearing a mask, I'm going to do my part. And I just want our community to know that I am going to do my part, because I respect those that the health of others, and we don't know who's vulnerable and not vulnerable. And I just want to say thank you to our community and to all of those that are respecting those in their community by loving them enough to do something we don't necessarily want to do. And so I do want to say thank you to our healthcare workers and their commitment and sacrifice. There's a lot of talk about the vaccine coming out, and I've communicated to our employees within the city of Nampa. The vaccine is not mandated. There are a lot of different feelings about the vaccine, whether we should take it or not take it. It's available to those that want it, and to those that don't feel comfortable with it, we respect that too. That's what being community is about. But it's respecting one another, supporting one another. And you know what, as we step in, this is our last council member meeting for 2020. I have to say, we are so ready to put 2020 to bed and have it behind us. And let's look forward to unity and hope as we step into 2021. I think it's so important. And I'm going to continue to have a message of hope this next year. We're going to stop the division. We're going to come together as one in our community. I will say also, Kenton Lee has an initiative that he's mentioned, and I think it's Unity 21. I'm forgetting, I'm not even saying it right. But he's asking for the community to come together starting on January 1 for 21 days of prayer, and really honoring one another and to see what we can do to slow the spread and cover our community. So if anybody's interested in that, be watching Facebook with Kenton Lee, because he's pushing it. We're going to be gathering at NNU around the cross at the center of campus at 1:21 on the 1st of January on the NNU campus, if anyone wants to join. So I'm sorry those comments were not prepared or anticipated, and I don't mean to go on, but as I think about the year, I just couldn't help but comment. So,
Mayor,
yes.
thank you for the proclamation. I know there's nobody here tonight to accept it, but on behalf of our St. Luke's teams, and I'm sure I can say so for St. Alphonsus, our teams are tired. It is really, really, really hard right now inside our walls. You guys are fortunate. Largely, you don't see it. It's a tired I haven't seen in my 18 years. Tears that I haven't seen in 18 years. There'll be a lot of them working Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, taking care of people's loved ones. That'll be the contact for the day that many people's loved ones will get. So please keep them in prayer. Keep the folks in the hospital in prayer. Many of us have friends in there right now, and it's very appreciated. And I do hope, I can't wait to hug my parents. That's what I most look forward to. I think many people do. So I hope that Christmas for many is spent loving from a distance, honestly. because we need numbers to go down. Our teams need a break, but there is hope with the vaccine. That's the first day that I've seen some woohoos and arms going up, and one of our ICU nurses told me it's like swimming the English Channel. She feels like we're finally half a mile from shore. She just has to keep her head up and keep sighting, and that hope is maybe finally here, so thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other comments right now, the next section on the agenda is a Nampa resident wanting to speak on the agenda item or non-agenda item for 3 minutes. And I believe we do have someone. Debbie, could you share?
We have Dan Howell.
Welcome, Dan. Go ahead and share do you have his address? Go ahead and share your name again and your address, and we can.
Beautiful building. It's going to add to Nampa. We've been in this 3 years here. I've owned it since 2013. I ran into a little issue that I'm hoping that you can help me on, which is we thought we were all shovel ready and ready to go out there with the gold shovels and get it hard. And then IDT came back and said, well, you have an unpermitted entryway. There's 2 entryways to the property. It was a lid project that was done in 2001, and they didn't permit their own work, apparently. So nobody on the Napa Cobble Boulevard going all the way down both sides, and they're saying, well, mine's a new use. There's several places for new use. There's the storage building, there's the pawn shop that used to be Dave Quickly. There's different uses. They just cut them along the path. Spoke to Mr. Badger. He's very helpful, actually. He had a recommendation that we reach out to our neighbors and see if maybe we can make a larger drive to accommodate. And to our surprise, he was, yes, I would love to do that. It's created a new issue with telephone poles, which we're going to have to move over. But the main reason being here is I think even with where I'm at now, I'm going to have somebody go, yeah, it's okay to have a larger drive. What they were asking me to do was to take this big, beautiful building and flip it the opposite way and face the storage units that are right there on the boulevard. That brought in power issues, water issues, and quite frankly, an expense that I can't afford. Just late in the project. So I'm hoping that it'll fall on somebody's ears to where we can, communicate that to IDT that we want businesses coming in at existing. This is only 1,000 feet from my existing rental property at Nelson Square. And so I'm hoping to gain access to this property. There's 2 entry points. They wanted me to flip it around and give one of my entry points up. And the idea now is to have a 45 entryway here.
Thank you for bringing that forward. So Tom Points, our Director of Public Works, is here. Jeff Barnes, who oversees transportation, and Daniel Badger are all here this evening. We will have someone follow up with you. So Debbie you have a telephone number in yours? And actually, as you step out, if one of you guys want to connect real quickly and just exchange phone numbers, we'll follow up right now. As you complete, I'm glad that you came forward. This is exactly what it's for, and we will absolutely follow up and stay in touch regarding the process of what to do. That's interesting. Thank you. I look forward to, from staff, hearing the update on that and better understanding it. So thank you. And so this team will. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Do we have anyone else?
Sharon Harris.
Hi, Sharon. You are matching well tonight with your mask and your. No.
We see your diligence, and most of all, we see your integrity when you're dealing with issues. And let me tell you, that has really impressed me. And then also, I am so grateful that this city council encourages ordinary citizens to be part of city business. And so thank you so much. And my prayer for you is that God would really bless your Christmas, because we can't be with family, and then just make 2021 the best of your life. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Sharon, thank you so much. And I know you didn't come up for me to say this, but thank you for your service. You sat on two different, very important, our Impact Fee Committee and our Board of Appraisers. And thank you so much for your service. Thank you. Is there anyone else here that had intended to sign up to speak this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to our mayor and council comments. And I just have two items. The first one is pretty simple. You know, 2020 has been that interesting year with a pandemic, with an earthquake, opening of the Amazon Fulfillment Center, the first center in Idaho. It's been a year that I think we should memorialize. And I would like to suggest that we do a time capsule for our community. And so I'm going to be reaching out to the public for ideas. I think it'd be great to honor healthcare workers. I think, City Council, if you have ideas, I know I talked to Chief Huff and he mentioned ComStat. I'm sure Chief Carpenter will discuss Fire District. And you know what? It's going to be so interesting. My thought is at this time, and you guys may have a better idea, but to open it in 30 years from now. And won't it be interesting to look back and see exactly how this all worked and where we are? So anyway, so I just wanted to mention that, that it's something that we'd like to do. The other thing I wanted to mention was just discuss our council meeting time. Randy and I discussed this in our prep meeting, and you know, our agendas are really very long. And I wanted to ask council how you guys would feel about starting at 5:30 on a regular basis. I mean, I know that some cities actually start at 5 with staff reports, and then they move into the agenda after that. So you get the staff reports out from 5 to 5:30. Staff just comes in and provides updates, and then at 5:30 they start the official meeting. And it gives staff an opportunity to report out to city council, and then you go into your city council meeting. So that would be starting at 5, but I know 5 o'clock is hard for somebody, but I'd like to know what you guys think.
Mayor, I'd be in favor of that. Does that mean we'll move up our public hearings to 6:30 then?
Well, that would, possibly so, and then if we.
Because we have had a rare occasion where we've gotten our action items done and had to wait before we could start public hearings. So I wouldn't want that pause. So that would be my suggestion. Thanks.
I agree with that. I think we should start at 5:30. What we're doing right now is we're holding our public hearings and making our constituents, applicants, wait until 9 and 10 o'clock. So, no, I agree with you. And Darrell, great. I think that's a great idea to move up our public hearings as well. So 5:30 is good with me. Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
I personally, I can do 5:30. I don't like the 5 at all. And even, just want to make it known, if, what we do, going to future councils and small business owners, people that work, if you want people on council that are, in the private sector, it's going to be harder for them to make it because they'll be getting off work at that time. So I personally get done, last patient's at 5 in Caldwell, and I come straight over. So it's hard for some people in that demographic. But
Would you
I think maybe each council should maybe decide, I don't know if you want to, if you change it now, then, I don't know, 10 years from now, they change it back. I don't know if that's a big deal or not, or that's part of the discussion. Or
It does change an ordinance to move it up till 5:30 is begin time, and then the public hearings at 6:30, but we would do the notification. And are you okay with 5:30?
Yep.
You are? Okay. Randy? Councilman Haverfield, I should say.
I'm on it, yeah, okay. Yeah, as we discussed, I'm in favor of what the council is in favor of. I can organize my time by being a business owner and be here. It's not going to be a problem for me. So I want, and it's nice if we can start a half an hour early and end a half an hour in the evening. That would be better. The late meetings is what I would like to avoid if we do this. But as you mentioned, or as Jacob mentioned, the public hearing starting at 6:30, or maybe it was Darrell, the public hearing starting at 6:30 would be good.
Okay. Councilwoman Levi, do you have any comments?
Thank you. I wouldn't want to start any earlier than 5:30 because, as it was said, it is a public meeting and it is business that we're doing for the public. So we definitely want to be cognizant that we are keeping in mind that it's not easy for them to be available at 5 or 5:30 to be attending a meeting, whether it's via Zoom or coming to City Hall. I know it's difficult for them to stay late as well, but I don't know which one is easier. I just want to make sure that we're making it accessible more to the public than not to ourselves.
I think I hear consensus. So as far as when this begins, Todd, I'm thinking that this is an ordinance that has to be changed and voted upon. So do we vote on that next time and then have it effective later? Or can we can do a special council meeting at the next council meeting to start at 5:30 and then approve an ordinance and then have it from 5:30 from that time? Would that be correct?
Correct. Madam Mayor, you could do a special meeting if you want. You just need to do the ordinance process that you typically do.
Okay, so that it would be effective possibly the second meeting in January officially.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and just two other, well, maybe a couple of other things. We have a community survey. Each year we survey our citizens just trying to get their input. It is now open. And so please encourage people you know to complete the survey because we use that every year when we come back to council on things and it's just so important. The last two, well, since I've actually been in office, public safety, transportation, those have been the top things. But it'd be interesting to see if it changes. So the survey is open and we are looking to really encourage our citizens to participate. We did send out a property tax flyer so that our citizens understood and hopefully everyone received it, that there was a considerable benefit because we participated in the governor's property tax rebate where they covered the cost of public safety. It was over $8 million and the average citizen saved between $100 and $400 this past year, which was wonderful. So hopefully everyone received that. The last thing I wanted to mention, and Tom, you can shoot me if, I think we talked about this last time, so if I'm out of line, tell me, but Jeff Barnes is here. And today at the Compass meeting, we had our awards with Compass. And Jeff he's a recipient of the Leadership in Practice Professional for Compass and the Leadership in Motion Awards. And Jeff is the only person that has received this award twice. And that's pretty impressive, back in 2016 and again today. And so it's wonderful when your peers across the Treasure Valley acknowledge the work that you're doing on our behalf. So thank you very much. And thank you to Tom Points, because you know what? Someone has to nominate, right? And so, Tom, that was wonderful of you to do that. Thank you as his leader. So appreciate it. Are there any other council comments?
Mayor, I'm just gonna, this won't ever happen again in my lifetime. I'm gonna slip out probably about 6:05, and because I will not be on this earth when it happens again, the North Star. So I'm gonna go out on the southwest and see that, just a kind of a personal thing that I wanna do, so.
So will you be back, or is it?
I'll be back, 5 minutes, I think, is all it'll take. You know, I'm pretty slow, but,
Can we
yeah.
all go?
That's up to you. I didn't want to put that on anyone else. It's just, I think the next one's 2080, and you better hope I'm not going to be around. So-
Okay, so you know what? At 6:05, is that right?
Well, I heard about 5:13 was sunset, and I heard about 45 minutes to an hour is the best time to see it after sunset, so.
Okay, so I think we need to take a break, and everybody that wants to see it, we're going to take 5 minutes, we're going to head out the door, and we're going to go see that star. That's a great idea.
It's a time of year where, you know, I think it's probably, okay.
Thank you.
You never know what I'll come up with, okay?
Mayor Kling.
Okay.
Mayor Kling. I have something before we go. Here a couple of months ago, I said, God bless St. Alphonsus for helping me through my quadruple bypass surgery. Well, now, Noe Rodriguez is still in the hospital, and he wanted me to tell you, thank you all for your prayers and for your support. And also he said, God bless St. Luke's. So his wife, Janet, just got home today. She's home now, and she's got a rough road, but she's home. And Noe's got a while. He's going to be in there. But you know what? Healthcare workers, yeah, right on. I can't say enough of good things about them. So thank you. There. Noe, I hope you're listening.
That's good. Somebody's got their mic
Somebody
on.
will.
Are there any other comments from council? No? Let's go to the next item on the agenda. Just, we're not going to do it, but agency and commission reports, there are none. So then when we come back, staff, we will step into our staff reports, starting with Robin Sellers and Tom Points and Darren Johnson. So we'll do that right when we come back, and we're going to take a short break.
snapshot of a grant program that happened very, very quickly and took a lot of work. And thank you to finance for all of their support to get checks out the door. So all of our recipients at this point, except one, have their funds. And the last one, the check was cut today. So it was a great opportunity for our small business owners. And we'll see if we have another round coming this spring. So with that, if there's any questions.
Mayor, just a quick question. So clarification on the first table, Robin, so what we cut a check for was the reimbursement amount?
Yeah, they
So,
had
and then the
to.
award amount is what they were initially asking, requesting? Or what is?
Yeah, so Mayor and Councilman Brunner, that was for, so when they applied, they were just kind of making an estimate if they had not already expended the funds. So if they applied for the grant on September 9th, they still had 2.5 more months that they could spend funds that they could be reimbursed for. So this was a reimbursement grant, so we had to see an invoice to do the actual reimbursement amount. So that's oftentimes why you'll see a difference between here's the award amount and here's the reimbursement amount, because they were making estimates of what they thought that might be.
Okay, that explains it, thanks.
Counselor, could I contribute just a little bit? It's important to note that the grants were held to the same spending standards that the city was held to by CFAC, by the CARES Act. So they could only use the money for the same reasons that we could only use the money for. So it was always in consideration of what the needs were related to the virus, not for long-term benefit, but current immediate needs.
Any other questions? Robin, I just wanted to say thank you. Really good job. This was a heavy lift, your office, and thank you all for being here today. What you stepped into, and Beth, thank you for your leadership. When you picked up, in addition to CDBG, you picked up this piece of COVID and then the other piece of CDBG COVID. That was a lot, and you guys have worked very, very diligently, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good job. Thank you so much. Thank you. Our next staff report is Tom Points.
Evening, Mayor, Council. I'm going to be fairly brief with the staff report because I know they've got a lot of items tonight. Every couple of weeks that we do a staff report, we like to let you know about the snow report. We've had one storm, it was about ½ inch, and the team did a good job by getting out there and doing pre-treatment with brine. Everything went well. Typically, most of the storms have been coming in January, so I expect to see a lot more activity then. On the wastewater report, we put in our typical 2-page flyer about the wastewater, so you can read that. And if you have any questions, let me know. I did want to spend a little time talking about Indian Creek floodplain. It's been a few months since we came and talked to you. We did hire a consultant, Bowen and Collins, to help us with the model. And we do have 30 years worth of wastewater treatment plant flow data in Indian Creek, which really helped us out a lot with doing the data analytics that we didn't have before. So we're going to see, we're estimating a very significant reduction in the floodplain in Indian Creek with that data, because that's the missing piece that we have not had. So we're going to go talk to the regional engineer in January and talk to him about the method that we're proposing and keep moving forward with this project. So I just wanted to report that good news so far. So,
May I make a quick comment on that? Tom, thank you. For those that have been around for a while, this floodplain is something that, and I don't know if the average citizen has any idea how important this is. The impact to our city and the value of that property is massive. And so as you go through it and it's just, here it is, and we're doing a good, we're getting it done, it's like, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's very important to our community. And I just want to say thank you for taking the time to get the data, because we had to have the data. And then for us to come alongside and actually be willing to say to the federal government, we need to change this. Because the expense to our city, the loss of valuation of properties, the impact to our residents that live in that area and what they're required to do from a compliance standpoint is massive. So I just want to say thank you. This is a big deal. And it's important that we do the work that you've just done. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor, for saying that. We learned a lot about Indian Creek in the past 18 months, and we made a lot of good progress. So it is an important project. The next one, I'd like Daniel to come up and talk about his dashboard. He's reporting out on the end of 2020 on the amount of projects that were delivered and the cost avoidance that we recognize. So, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So for our project delivery for close of fiscal year 20, we had the 24 major projects that we were reporting on with a $22 million value for the year, for the FY 22 or 20 year. For our fourth quarter, end of year, these are our percentages for complete. We had 87% designed, 91% awarded, and 74% constructed. Those numbers are a little lower than our previous year. A lot of that had to do with projects that had delays for equipment or contractor delays that were related to COVID. Unfortunately, one of our large sewer rehab projects, the contractor, because of they were an out-of-state contractor, were not able to travel in the time frame they typically do for the projects they had for the year. And so that project got awarded but not constructed until after the fiscal year closed. And so there were issues like that, pumps being delivered that were delayed due to COVID shipping and that type of stuff. And so that's where we ended up for the fiscal year 20. Total project cost avoidance, we exceeded our goal. Our goal for the year was $600,000 in cost avoidance by doing things with in-house staff, inspection, some design, and things of that nature. And so you can see here the different areas where we were able to do those cost avoidance. The most significant ones were with inspection by hiring Ray Rice as an inspector in-house. We were able to save significant funds over what we would have paid a consultant to do that same work. And then there was also some staffing savings as we've been working on hiring some additional staff to do work as well. We actually have 2 new EITs that will be starting the first of the year. So with that, we're down to only lacking 1 staff to be at full staff. So hopefully next year, the cost avoidance will all be in projects and designs rather than in staffing savings. Here is our team. We've added Tiffany McCree with the public involvement, which has been a blessing for us. She helps a lot with the coordination with the property owners and just getting the word out about what we're doing. And with that, I'd stand for any questions.
I'd like to just make a comment. When we have projects that roll over, and this is more for the public, what happens sometimes in our budget, and we're really working, sometimes it's unavoidable. And Doug, I see you shaking your head. Yes, you could share this rather than me if you'd rather, but so what we're really trying to do is ensure that we don't roll projects over from one fiscal year to the next, because what happens is when it is budgeted, and our budget, let's say we have a budget of $200 million, when we roll a project over, and if it's a big project, millions of dollars, it goes into the next year's budget. And it looks like we're just increasing our budget continually when we're really not. Because the last year's budget, it wasn't used. So, but we never go back to really say, hey, our budget actually was X because all of these projects got rolled over. So that's something that we're really working on, because what happens is it looks like our budget is continually increasing. And then on cost avoidance, if we don't really understand that, just to make it real simple, just in case anybody wonders, if we outsource a project, right, you've got the consultant cost of design or whatever, and it's much higher. By hiring someone internally, we can hire one person for the cost of maybe 3 different, that they can get 3 projects done. So that cost avoidance is truly a savings to our enterprise funds. most of the time it's in our streets and engineering, right, area. And we're trying to find the balance in that, and we've been working on that. And you have to find qualified people and make sure you don't overstaff and all that stuff. But I guess I want our citizens and council to know we're looking at every way possible to be good stewards of the resources that we have. That's what that cost avoidance is about. So thank you. I appreciate the work. Thank you. Darren Johnson. Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I wanted to share tonight that we did receive from AARP a fitness lot or an outdoor fitness gym. AARP, they bought, National bought 50 fitness lots, one for each state. And so I'd like to give a big thanks to Lupe Whistle. She's the state director, and she nominated or sought out Nampa for that fitness lot to go here in Nampa. It'll actually be installed right around the end of August of this year. In addition to the grant, this is what it'll look like. It'll have, the colors might be a little bit different, but it'll have AARP on the sun canopies. And in addition to the equipment, the grant for 3 years includes $3,500 to offer programming to the community for no charge to the citizens. And so that will be coming in as well. We're expecting to put it in Lakeview Park. And if we could maybe just show Lakeview Park, there's just a little bit of a discussion here that I wanted to have with council as we've been looking at an area where to put it. There's a couple different areas that we can consider putting this fitness gym. Oh, okay. If you go to your packet, there is a copy of Lakeview Park, and now it's up on the screen. Our proposed site is over on the Maple Grove side, so right off over to your right. That's where we would like to put it. I will mention, though, there is a playground already in that particular site. It's about 25 years old. We've looked for funding to replace that. The playground is at its end of life. We've looked for CDBG money and that type of thing to replace that particular playground. This area doesn't qualify for CDBG money, the playground, but there are some other playgrounds nearby. You'll see that there's another playground over at Lakeview that's not too far away. And our thought is if we remove that playground, when we replace the one over at Lakeview, that we would put in a more significant playground. It just seems like this particular park would need that, similar to like Midway Park, Lions Park, West Park, something that's universally accessible. And so we put all our funding into that. And so that's kind of what we're looking at. I don't know if there's a thought on the council in terms of that location. An alternate site that we've picked would be over by the swimming pool. It's just a little bit further away from a bathroom and a drinking fountain and that kind of thing. But that's also, we could also put it over there. And then sometimes the swimming pool gets a lot of parking and traffic over there where the parking lot gets filled up. And so I don't know if there's any comments or concerns on the location where we put that. Yeah, so we remove it, okay. All right.
No concerns. You know what? It's always great to have good news. And when Lupe called and said out of the entire state that they were considering a city to give the grant and to put in the senior fitness facility, they chose Nampa. And I really appreciate that. And the other thing that's way cool is that there's an app on your phone that when you use the QR code on the equipment, it'll show you how to use the equipment. So if you're there outside of a time where there's a class, which they're paying for the instruction for classes, if you're there at a different time, you can actually see how to properly use the equipment. And so it's with the focus of encouraging seniors to exercise but I think you can use it even if you're not a senior.
Yeah, it's all ages. It's probably, 12 and up, 14 up is probably what the age would be. But yeah, so there is no age restrictions necessarily that you have to be a senior. We'll plan the classes, so we haven't developed the classes yet, but. Well, yeah, no promises on that, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Darren, it does seem like there are more seniors who tend to head to that side of the street.
Yeah.
And could you put pickleball courts in there at some point too with that? There's a lot of grass and
Yeah.
that'd be like the perfect thing, wouldn't it? To have the senior fitness area with pickleball is exploding.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Yeah, pickleball could be added. Mhm.
Thank you, Darren.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Darren, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to step into the new business section of our meeting. And the beginning of this, and Patrick, you can go ahead and, well, actually, it's building site and design standards first, but we have a number of appointments tonight. And so, Rodney, would you like to speak to this appointment? You're welcome to if you'd like to. You'll make the motion and we'll just move quickly through, okay?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve the reappointment of Jeff Hatch to the Building and Site Design Standards.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Bauer? Brunner?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
So then as we step in, the next section is the impact fee section. I asked Patrick to come up if we're ready just to make motions, we can do that, or we can have a little bit of a discussion.
Mayor, I'll
This,
make a motion to reappoint Sharon Harris.
There you go. Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and Sharon, we so appreciate you. Thank you for your service. Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Brunner?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
And I have to pause, because actually, so I have this agenda that has notes, and it says that we can do an all in favor instead of a roll call. I'm so accustomed to roll call that I just defaulted there. The rest of these, we may just do all in favor. Can we do that? We will do that. So that's why it's going to shift.
Mayor, if you want some discussion, I have a little discussion maybe prior to that, if we may. So this is just my personal, and I know we have challenges, Patrick, in getting some of these folks, on the committee and qualified. And there's every person that we are speaking of tonight, I know is totally qualified. I'm not going to be voting for Ron Von Acker he's already on planning and zoning. And I know he does not, and he has businesses all through the Treasure Valley, probably the top developer in the state of Idaho. But I'm not going to be voting for him to be on the impact committee, since he does not live in the city of Nampa and he's already serving on the P&Z. I'm correct on the P&Z, right?
I don't know on the P&Z, but.
Yes.
Yeah, he's serving on the P&Z. The other one is Mr. Cooper, who I know has business on 12th. So his business is here. He lives in Eagle. And I am fine with him being on the fire and so on committee. I'll be not voting for him to be on the impact fee committee also. And I just think with over 100,000 people here in the city limits of Nampa, we should be able to find folks who can serve on these committees and not necessarily duplicating. A citizen, like Sharon and so on, that's serving on 2 different committees, and I'm fine with. But if they're not living in the city limits, then I'm not fond of them serving on dual committees. So,
Mayor?
Yes.
I agree with Councilman Brunner. I just think, I think these people may be great, but also agree, I think we need to try to find people that are citizens of Nampa. And sometimes there can be conflict of interest, maybe not with these 2, but just going forward. And I would even, I would like if we made if council's open to it, if we actually made that a rule or ordinance where it's they have to be a citizen to be on the committee.
So I have a question. So it is a state statute. Impact fee is guided by a state statute, but I have a question. If the individual that we're considering actually owns businesses, they pay more taxes than a resident, right? And they
realize
own
that.
businesses, and they're working and own property here as business owners and building owners. Is it that they're paying taxes? Is it, because if they're building owners and they're paying taxes in the city,
Mayor, I'm interrupting
understand.
probably a little bit. I guess I understand that. And they're paying more taxes through their businesses than they would be on their residences. I totally understand that. They're also, though, both these individuals we're talking about are entrepreneurs, but they're developers. And so on impact fees especially, they're, to me, there again, I'm not a developer. I own some properties, but I'm not a developer. But it's going to influence me on impact fees and so on. Like I said, I'm fine with Mr. Von Acker being on the P and Z. I'm just these dual committees, and I'm going to be voting for Mr. Cooper on the one committee. I'm just not voting for him on the impact fee committee. But no, you are correct. There's no question on the tax paying basis. Yeah.
okay, so could you share with us, Patrick, what the state statute, what the guidelines are for the impact committee? Because I think we were guided by that, so help me
Right.
understand.
I put a few slides together. So if you'll just indulge me and be a couple minutes, I just wanted to share with you, we do have a struggle because of getting qualified individuals per what our ordinances are, per what state statute is, for the Impact Fee Advisory Committee. Basically, it's the Impact Fee Advisory Committee. It's created by city ordinance based on a state statute. We pretty much have it verbatim, with the state statute. And let's see here. So basically, what the state statute says is the Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee shall be composed of not fewer than 5 members by the governing authority of the governmental entity. 2 or more members shall be active in business of development, building, and real estate. And when our ordinance was crafted many years ago, prior to me coming on the scene, it was decided that it made sense to involve all stakeholders, the two that are not in a building or development or contractor profession, the 2 citizens, and then have somebody who is a residential contractor, a commercial contractor, and then also a developer, because without buy-in from those groups or having those stakeholders at the table, you're going to have opposition outside, away from the table when you're trying to modify and change impact fees and get acceptance by the development community, who's ultimately going to be paying the lion's share of those impact fees. So the only difference between our ordinance and state is we've added 1 additional industry person. One thing we can do, we have the latitude to do, and we've talked about it actually at the last Impact Fee Advisory Committee meeting, is we can add another citizen at large to this group, which would even it out, and then you would have 3 people from industry, and then you'd have 3 people from, just regular citizens that are at the table and they are there as residents. And speaking or going back to the first point I made, is we really have a hard time. We went through a formal process. We had a call for applicants open for 60 days, and we got crickets as far as people who are in the construction industry locally responding to that ad. So what I did is I asked Ron Van Acker, hey, would you mind re-upping? Because he wanted to be off it. And I said, will you mind re-upping? Because we just don't have anybody here. We had a few people who were not in the construction industry. They're residents, but we already had those residents spots filled. And so I asked him, hey, you've been on before. Can we just re-up you for another 2-year period? And he said, that's fine. We had the same problem with the Fire and Building Code Board. Same deal where we had to reach out to find people, make phone calls. And you would be surprised that I would say, other than subcontractors or small remodel contractors, the lion's share of contractors that do business in Nampa proper live in Meridian, they live in Eagle, they live in Canyon County, live in Ada County. They don't live here. You know, like the larger commercial firms, you know, if you have ESI, you have Hill Construction. I thought, oh, that's a no-brainer. Hill Construction does all this stuff at NNU, and, you know, they do all these things.
They don't
Well,
live here.
They don't live here. I mean, unless you go down the food chain and find somebody in that organization. So we were really challenged trying to do this, and these positions expire in January.
Right.
So I mean, I'd be happy to go out and do another call, see if we can get people on board if we don't pass these or we don't approve all these people. But I just need to share that we do have real challenges finding people who want to serve a 2-year term on boards and committees like this. And we don't want to bring somebody into the building code board because the building code board is more restrictive. It is by the fire code and the building code that's adopted by the state. It says that everybody has to be in the industry and they have to know enough about code to pass judgment for appeals. So we don't have any other than, I think we only have a member at large, and then we have an alternate member, but they also know something about the industry so that they can make an informed decision or an educated decision when they are trying to handle an appeal or trying to advise the building official on how they should proceed on something.
And Mayor, I'm kind of dominating this, but I know, Patrick, like I said earlier, I know it's got to be a struggle. And I have no idea how many in the development field or as Mr. Van Acker are in the city limits. But you said, I heard you say you actually have been making phone calls and people are turning you down, just not.
Well, the struggle is I've made phone calls and the struggle is finding somebody who lives here in Nampa.
So we don't have a listing. We can't do a database search for who the folks are in these areas as far as that live in Nampa.
I just went through our general contractors who are submitting for permits because we need a commercial contractor in both these instances to take David Bill's spot. And then we needed a developer to take, Ron Van Acker's spot is just re-upping the spot he's had for 2 years on the building board and for 3 prior years on the Impact Fee Advisory Committee.
And one more clarification. You said the fire that's even more difficult to find than the impact?
Mayor and Councilman Brunner, yes, because our task there is everybody has to be knowledgeable and in the industry as a contractor, real estate person. They have to be knowledgeable about codes.
The comment I made about Mr. Cooper was, I would want him to serve on whatever one, if that's the most difficult, then that's probably, that's where I would want to keep him. But I know by my comments, I'm taking 2 individuals off your impact fee. I realize that, so.
Well, and the other thing that I think it's important to understand is this is by city ordinance.
Right.
This is not just randomly, oh, gee, I want to bring somebody on. We're following the ordinance. Patrick followed the ordinance that we as a city have adopted, and he looked to fill those positions. And I think the council, it's going to be important if the council says, no, we can't function within our current ordinance, then we need to resolve that because staff has done a good job. And I understand this situation, and it stems back, candidly, it stems back from NDC, right? This is old baggage, I'm going to say, that we're carrying because back in the day, we were upset because NDC had a whole bunch of people serving that did not live in the city of Nampa. But they also didn't have businesses in the city of Nampa. They weren't paying tax dollars in the city of Nampa. So if we feel like a business owner that is investing in our community as a developer in this community that has their business here, they own buildings, they're paying taxes, does not qualify, then we by ordinance have a responsibility to figure that one out. Because it's difficult to go after and to find people to set in these positions when we're going by our ordinance and by the guidelines that we need to operate within. The other thing that I think is important is we can fill seats, but filling seats with somebody that is knowledgeable, that can make wise decisions, that has a knowledge base to give good impact, good information, is critical. Because these are big decisions. And so I just think that's probably why they say you have to have somebody in development. And the other thing that Patrick said, and I appreciate that comment, is we know what the impact fee culture, when we adopted and increased our impact fees, the very first time, because I sat out there in the audience, there was a huge revolt from the building contractors. This last time when we did it, we actually had amazing acceptance. But you've got to get the buy-in from the people that have a good voice, that are sitting at those committee meetings, that are understanding where we are as a city, because they are our advocates to help us get through the process. And so I think we need to think about how we're looking at it. It isn't, and first of all, they're advisory only. They make no decisions, they only advise us, but we need the buy-in and we need the input from the building community when we make these decisions. So I don't think it's all bad. And there's a reason why it's written the way it's written. It'd be great to have somebody that actually lives in Nampa. But I do think we have two excellent candidates. So that's the challenge here. I think there's a difference, and I think you guys would agree with me. It isn't about the candidates, it's principally about our ordinance. But I would suggest we have a new position opening on the impact fees 1 year from now. And we may have another one, I'm not remember where that's going, but we may have a shift. If we really want to shift it, then we should look at our ordinance. So right
Mayor,
now
I can answer that.
Go ahead.
I can answer that. We would have 2 openings we have 3 openings, I think, coming next January.
Next January.
The other thing is we can work actively with our city attorney to add another position as another citizen at large. And that also, we have been talking about that the last year. I know I've talked to some council members about that. I know it's come up on some of the impact fee meetings, talking to people. And I think that would also give the citizens of Nampa, I think it would level the playing field where the citizens of Nampa felt like they have an adequate voice if we did that as well. So I can actively do that as well. And that's something I work with in the next few months with the city attorney, and we could bring back to you if council would like to see that.
Change the ordinance. And then just for clarity, the state statute, we have to operate within that state statute, correct?
Madam Mayor and council members, yes.
Which requires 2 or more members have to be active in the development community. And so that's something that we have to.
Mayor, it's been a good discussion, and I will probably relent on, 'cause I know Mr. Van Acker, and I know he's done a really, really good job for us. So, and you said he wanted to actually not recommit, right?
Yes, Mayor and Councilman Brunner, yes, he had mentioned that he would like to get off at some
So I will
point,
be
but then
voting
I
for,
went back.
I will be voting, I will vote yes on him for but for Mr. Cooper, where he has the one I will be voting for, but I would like for us to search harder than for that other position. That doesn't mean, just because what I'm saying, that he maybe will be on, I'm just saying I will not vote.
Mayor Kling?
Thanks.
I think Sandy wanted to say something, but in the interest of time, can you hear me okay?
Kind of.
We came early tonight so we can get through 32 items. We're on the 3rd item right now. I don't have a problem at all with a reappointment if it's someone of character that we haven't had any issues with, someone that meets the criteria of what we're looking for. So I'm going to make the motion that we reappoint Ron Van Acker to the Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? So this time, yes, Councilwoman Levi.
Thank you. I do appreciate and respect the fact that we are trying to get through things quickly, but I also want to thank the 2 council members that voiced their concern, because every time something like this comes up, I feel like I'm the lone man on the totem pole trying to voice my concern about, are we really being equitable in making sure that our citizens at large are represented? I know what state statute says, which is something that if the other council members want to get together with me and we take this to the state, then I am 100% behind you. I'm very concerned when our committees are well, we own a business, but we cannot vote. Well, that's part of choosing to not live in the city. So that's something that we also need to look at when we're doing these committees. If they're choosing not to live in the city, they don't have the right to vote in the city. I've heard that I'm kind of picking up a little bit on is that it's hard to find good qualified people. And if it's really that hard to find good qualified people, when the fire district was voted and it was commented that there would be 6 representatives and that we could get 6 good qualified people, well, if we can't get them to sit on a board, it makes me a little, well, not a little bit, but a lot concerned, thinking, well, how are we going to get good qualified people and fair people to sit on a fire district board? So, again, I appreciate the discussion. You all know where I stand, but I also owe it to the people I'm representing to make sure that I have voiced it on the public record. And thank you for your time, and thank you, Councilman Haverfield, for hearing me.
Thank you, Councilwoman Levi. Is there any other discussion? Okay, so I'm going to do an all in favor, and then I'm going to do anyone opposed. Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
No, me, I.
Okay, so we have 2. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so let's move over to action item 5.4. What is the will of the council on this one?
Mayor Kling. Again, I think that Patrick's done his due diligence, done the best he could to try to find people to fill these roles. As I look at the addresses on some of these other candidates, I'm not sure if they live in Nampa or if they're just using business addresses, because some of them are. So, I mean, unless there's been vetting, even like on this Building and Fire Advisory Appeals Board, and we're looking at a Meridian address there, I don't think that that precludes someone from being able to serve if they're interested in serving. The thing that, as you've mentioned, that was a concern a few years back, it was actually 7 years ago, the NDC board was comprised of no one that lived in the city limits of Nampa. And that was not good. And that's why the city council took over that board to be able to reestablish a posture here that's proper now. So I think as we move forward, I think it is important and incumbent on us to try to recruit, to reach out to people we know, as we know that these commission seats are going to be coming up. But as of tonight, I'll go ahead and make the motion that we do appoint Derek Cooper to the Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee as presented to us.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Debbie, let's do roll call. It'll just be easier.
Rodriguez?
No.
Brunner?
No.
Levi?
No,
Bauer?
No.
Mucci?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Okay, item 5.5. This is to appoint a new member, Dennis Davis. He's an alternate member to the Building, Fire, and Advisory and Appeals Board for a 2-year term, and Dennis is a citizen, correct?
So move.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 5.6 is to appoint new member Derek Cooper to the Building and Fire Advisory and Appeals Board for
So
a 2-year
move.
term.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
So there's 3 in favor. Let's go back to roll call, just to make sure we get it. I'm sorry, I'll stay with roll call.
Rodriguez?
No.
Mucci?
Yes.
Levi?
no,
Bauer?
No.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a tie, and I will vote yes to break the tie. Okay, item 5.7 is an action item. This is to reappoint Joe Bongerino.
So moved.
Second.
Fire Board of, okay.
Mayor, can I make a
Yes.
clarification? The reason Joe Bongiorno he is on here is because we need a fire protection officer, and it can't be somebody employed by the city of Nampa. So it used to be the Caldwell Fire Marshal, and now we're using the Meridian Fire Marshal because the Caldwell Fire Marshal didn't want to do it anymore. So that's why there is a Meridian address, and he lives in Meridian. So we have to use somebody that is a fire official for a municipality on this committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded, I believe. Was there any further discussion? Okay, let's do roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Levi? Bauer?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Item 5.8 is an action item to reappoint Greg Toulson to the Building and Fire Advisory and Appeals.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Let's do all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item 5.9 is to reappoint Mark Miller to the Airport Commission for a 5-year term. Patrick, thank you very much.
So moved.
Thank you.
One second.
Okay, so this reappointment of Mark Miller to the Airport Commission, we did have another candidate. The recommendation came back to reappoint Mark Miller to the commission. And so, do you need any additional information? I'll stand for a motion.
I made the motion.
Oh, you've been seconded. Oh, that was quick, okay. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, item 5.10 is to authorize the Parks and Recreation Department to modify the Ora Brandt Park master site plan by adding a splash pad and authorize the park impact fees to be used for the construction of the pad.
So move.
Second.
21. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion, any questions?
I can't wait to have fun. It's all right.
Can't wait for that. We will be watching.
Is that senior restricted, or is it, we're okay?
No, everybody, all ages.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Levi? Bauer?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Item 5.11 is to authorize the Parks and Rec Department to purchase a precast concrete model restroom for the Amity Dog Park.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Second. And I'll
Moved and seconded.
I'll make the comment too. It's nice to be able to purchase it from a Napa-based company since they were in Spokane about a year ago.
I fully agree, and that's pretty cool that they're here now.
Councilman Hatterfield, are you designing this, or?
It's already designed and built. And yes, I was involved with it. That was Project Charlie, I think.
Yep. Okay, it's
Good job,
been moved
Darren.
and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Roll call?
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Levi? Haverfield?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Rodney, let's go ahead and move forward with action item 5.12, and this is the discussion on changes to the Napa City Code regarding conditional use permits for firearm sales, manufacture, and warehousing.
All right, Mayor, Council, that was loud. This issue just keeps coming up. We're having a lot of interest in firearms businesses before Planning and Zoning Commission, and we've required CUPs, and I just wanted to go through this pretty quickly with you, but point out some issues that we're having and then get your direction. This is our land use table 1032, and if depending on the type of business that comes in, there's all kinds of different firearm businesses. Some sell firearms specifically and kind of primarily. Others sell sporting goods as well as firearms. Others just sell ammunition or store ammunition and then sell it online. There's all kinds of things that can be done with firearms. And so some of the categories that we have to decipher when a project comes before us are on the screen here: shopping center community, shopping center neighborhood, sporting goods. Again, a sporting goods store is a little different. Stores primarily for guns and ammunition have not traditionally been considered sporting goods. That if they're solely for guns and ammunition, we actually don't have a specific category. And then sporting goods include stores that sell guns and ammunition, but those sales do not make up a majority of their receipts. So this is traditionally how that's been handled. Another area is manufacture, assembly, or packaging of products from previously prepared materials. We've had lots of those come before the Planning and Zoning Commission as well. And that's assembling gun and other equipment for gunsmithing. And here's some others that it may fall into: manufacturing, and then finally the warehousing, distribution, and wholesale. Recently, we had a project come before us, and they said, we'd like to move, but all we're doing is storing ammunition in large amounts and then selling them online. Nobody comes to our store. Is it warehousing or is it firearms? So when I came in as director here, I found out that our traditional way of handling these is that we require a CUP in most cases, but in other cases, the assistant director had not required a CUP for guns and gun sales or gunsmithing or warehousing. And so I needed clarity. So we moved forward with the attorney at that time and came up with a scenario where we just required CUPs for all gunsmithing related businesses. And I put on the screen this section of our code that kind of shows you how the attorney at that time had given us the direction to require those CUPs. Basically, since it's not listed specifically on our land use table, we were defaulting to this language where it says that the director may require a CUP for something that doesn't fit into the land use table. I've had some discussions now with our current attorney, and we believe that the language in the code basically is for an exception, not one that you get on a continual basis. It's saying it comes in and you're like, I've never seen this before. I need to require a CUP. It doesn't fit into any of the categories. And so that's significantly different than how we've handled this in the past. And just a quick note, home occupation in a residential area may be another area that we need to look at, but we are talking specifically about a commercial business, an industrial or a commercial zoning district. So planning and zoning history, since the specific gunsmithing land use is not listed in 1032 of our code, we use the CUP. In other times, we've not required the CUP, so I felt the consistency was needed, contacted the attorney, and at that time, they gave us direction to require the CUP. Ammo Squared is the business that I mentioned that stores or warehouses ammunition, and consulted with the attorney, and we feel that the code does not currently require a CUP for gunsmithing businesses. And so the question for council tonight is, should P&Z staff draft code changes to require a CUP for all firearm-related land uses? Alternatively, should P&Z staff draft code changes to require a CUP for gun sales and not the gunsmithing, where they're manufacturing or warehousing? Or should P&Z staff draft code changes to require a CUP for ammunition storage? Should staff continue to consider the land use separate from products sold, stored when related to guns, manufacturing, warehousing, shopping center, et cetera? And finally, should city staff continue to require a CUP for gun-related in-home occupation businesses? So those are the questions that I have for City Council, and I would appreciate your direction, and I will come back with code changes depending on your direction.
Mayor Kling?
Yes.
Just for clarification, Rodney, gunsmithing, does that include the storage of live ammunition?
Mayor and Councilman Haverfield, that is the question. There is no clear definition in the code, and so because that's not clearly stated, we've required a CUP.
Mayor Kling, I would be in favor of a CUP for the storage of live ordnance because of the explosive nature of what that is, and that your neighbors need to know that you're storing that in whatever quantity. Gunsmithing on itself, boring of rifles, the manufacturer of, using of steel and wood, I don't see that that's necessary to be a CUP process, but the storage, I think, of live ordnance should be something we should consider.
Mayor Kling.
Yes.
By having a CUP on each of these three different aspects of weaponry, I guess I'll call it, businesses, are we hampering our businesses from doing business here in Nampa? And I believe that in Nampa, we have one of the finest gun builders, that's what I call them, armors, that sends and sails all over the United States. So he will have to have a CUP on each thing that he does, other than ammo. So I want to make it easier and simpler, and I agree with Randy. I don't think we should be putting too much of our government hold on, hands down, on some of these businesses. So this will make it difficult, and I don't know that I agree with this.
I'd like to ask, legal, do you have any comments that you'd like to share regarding this and as we move forward?
Well, Madam Mayor and Council, this was really loud. Can you hear me? I don't want to be too loud. So I think Rodney explained it fairly well. He was kind of previously approaching it with a broad brush when the language really wasn't for him to make that broad brush decision. It's really more for the council. And the question is, you have a land use table, and some things are permitted and allowed without a conditional use permit. Some require a conditional use permit, and some simply aren't allowed in a particular zone. So it's your policy decision. Do you want to require the extra step of a conditional use permit? And if you do, then is it across the board in all of the zones, including industrial, commercial, or residential? Or do you simply want to treat guns like any other retail business, and ammunition as the same as any other warehousing or distribution business? So it's kind of your determination on how to approach that, and then do you consider different zones differently?
So I think in this case, and Councilman Haverfield, I appreciate your comments. I think that staff is looking for direction and clarity. And we also, the reason why code is important is so that others have clarity before they even come in. And it saves the staff from having to, we want consistency within the city. And so at this point, Rodney, would it help you if council said, yes, move forward with some suggested language for code and then bring it back with possibly the consideration of ammunition storage? And then like where Councilman Haverfield suggested, maybe if someone's gunsmithing in their home, council may say that's not an issue to us, but possibly ammunition storage is, and that's for the protection of their neighbors. And then it may be ammunition storage in an industrial area. Does that require a CUP or not? And we may say, you know what, in a residential area, we're going to require, or it's not even allowed in ammunition storage is not allowed in a residential area, or is there a consideration? So I don't know the answers to that, but I do know that Rodney would like some clarity. So I think I might suggest, for sake of time, that Rodney, that council, you let Rodney know what your thoughts are. This is not serial meeting, because a serial meeting is when you talk amongst each other, but if you can let Rodney know what some of your thoughts are, as Councilman Haverfield suggested, then you could take those into consideration and come back to council with some recommendations on how you would suggest it goes. Would that be one way to approach it?
Mayor, if I just take 15 seconds, I want little or no regulations. I am personally willing to consider in residential, but depending on what we're talking about as far as the amount of ammunition. I'm not in favor of any regulations on gun control in the city of Nampa. Okay? Thanks. We already have gun control in, I realize, in the city buildings, but our residents, we're a Second Amendment city. I know that's from carrying standpoint, but we need to be consistent.
And how does that affect, because you touched on it with the ammunition storage. What do we do with that because of the explosive nature?
Well, and industrial, I don't care. As far as residential, that would be my concern. If somebody has a 10 by 10 shed and it's full of live ammo, but what is their amount of storage that we're going to be considering?
For personal consumption
Yeah.
versus a business where you're storing.
Right.
multiple items.
So that's just my personal input, so.
Mayor
That's good. Yes.
A question for legal. I noticed in November that Ammo Squared sought a federal license. Do you have to have a federal license for large munition storage?
You do.
Thank you, Rodney.
You do, and they've acquired it. We were contacted by the federal firearms, I can't think of the name, the ATF, thank you. And they asked, what happens is when they go in to get their license, the federal agency contacts us a lot of times and says, do they have all of their permits in place to be here? And so that's when this discussion began.
So while this is noted as an action item, it was a discussion, and at this time, I don't think it requires a vote. We're just going to continue to do the work, and we'll come back.
Thank you. Yeah.
Rodney, thank you very much. It's a few minutes after 7, and we are going to move into the public hearing portion of our meeting. We'll move to our first public hearing, which is concerning the city council evaluation and intent to convey real property to the Nampa Fire District. And Todd or Kirk, Todd, are you going to?
I can address that if you want, Madam Mayor. So council members, this is part of the fire district discussion. As you recall, on our special meeting in November, we entered into the agreement with the fire district. Part of that discussion was for the transfer of the real property over to the fire district. And that requires a notice and a public hearing, a notice of the intent that you made that decision to establish a value and have publication for the intent to convey. That sets up the public hearing. That's what the hearing is for tonight. Your action would not be following this public hearing. If you're in support of the transfer of the real property to the fire district, your action item is 5:30. But the public hearing is to take input and have any discussion you may want to have. And if I might add one more item, Mayor, I mentioned this previously, but the values we plugged in were those values that we received from ICRIMP as far as replacement of the building, not necessarily a sale value.
Mayor Kling?
Yes.
Todd, so fire station number 5, the value of the station itself is not conveyed to them?
Fire station number 5, that's the one on the airport, correct, Madam Chair and Commissioner Howerfield? Correct, we're keeping the land in that case, but the property would be subject to a lease.
So the building itself, that's my question. Will they maintain or have ownership of the building? I know we've got the leased ground, but with the building itself, there's no value of it?
Madam Chair and Commissioner Howerfield, I'm trying to remember back as to how we were specifically handling that conveyance on number 5. It's not a conveyance of real property. It would be a conveyance of real property that wouldn't be subject to this hearing. I'll have to go back and check and see if, unless Mayor remembers, how we're exactly handling that personal property aspect of it. But I can do that while you're discussing.
Mayor, and I'm just thinking the maintenance of the building, if we retain ownership, they're using it, so there's a lease arrangement. If that's what it's intended to be, then obviously there's revenue coming in to offset the maintenance cost. Thank you.
So, and Chief Carpenter could possibly speak to this, but I'm not seeing any the teams on our screens. Hi. Is it possible to get our screens back on with Teams so we can see Chief Carpenter? Thank you. Hi, Chief.
Yes, Mayor, if I remember correctly, what the agreement was is the building would move to the district for ownership of maintenance and care of the building, and then the lease of the property also moves over and has to be renegotiated with the city for the district to own the lease as well. So there would be no further requirement of the city to maintain the building or be subject to the lease. It would be strictly
So if I understand it correctly, the reason it's not part of the public hearing is because it is a lease, it's not a conveyance of property. And it will be considered as we negotiate the lease and work with the fire district on the lease of that property, but not as part of this public hearing.
Correct, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And Chief, before we step into public hearing, is there any more comment or report from you?
No, I'm definitely here to answer any questions that council may have or about this action item. This is a follow-up to our November decision and public hearing is leaded by the rules.
Council, do you have any questions for Chief Carpenter at this time? Or for legal counsel? Okay, so seeing none, this is a public hearing, and it's an opportunity for the public to weigh into this particular issue. Debbie, do we have anyone signed up?
I don't have anyone.
Signed up, okay. Is there anyone in the audience that had intended to testify in support of or in opposition to this particular conveyance of property for the fire district? Okay, seeing none, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Council discussion. Okay, any discussion or motion?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Just a
Oh, wait,
reminder,
I'm
no
sorry,
motion.
no motion.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting. I'm so accustomed to, and I just reread that. Thank you. That's right, no motion. So no discussion. Okay, that concludes this public hearing. And I'm sorry, just for those sitting here, the vote takes place as part of new business as our legal counsel shared, which is action number 530 on the agenda, and we'll get to that later. So no action at this time, which I totally forgot momentarily. Thank you. That concludes action item 6.1 under public hearings. We'll now move to action item 6.2, and this is to consider increases in airport land lease rates and rental fees by an overall amount in excess of the 5% for operational maintenance costs. Increases. Jeff, thank you.
Mayor and City Council, thank you for your time tonight. So for the last year, we've been working on a cost of service study at the airport, and I wanted to talk a little bit about where the airport's at. The master planning process looked at the airport and gave us kudos, gave the group kudos who've been managing the airport, including staff, the existing commission, and the city council over the years, and said that it was a very well-run airport. That's to that note, a look at the fund balance supports that. In the last 5 years, since 2015, you see that that established fund balance has been maintained around $1 million. So I think that is important in case an emergency happens out there. We've been able to do that. So I appreciate the good work of the commission and the staff, especially Monty, and also the support of the city council to be conservative on what's happening out there. I think they do a lot with a little at the airport. So since last year, we started a cost of service study. Jake Allen was spearheading that, did a great job. We proposed that to the city council and also to the commissioners in May. In August, we presented that cost of service study to the city council. In September, we proposed rate increases based on the cost of service, but also because in our leases at the airport, there's a 0 and a 5 stipulation that if the year that the lease was started ended at 0, then you can renegotiate it. So it's 2020, so this is the year we can renegotiate and look at those leases. So a part of the cost of service study, we began to look at these leases, and we proposed that to the airport commissioners. We also went in October to the Board of Appraisers to give feedback to the commission, and I appreciate their help in that process. And then in November, we went to the airport commission, and they recommended an increase. So before you tonight is the 4 options we originally started with. And I'm not going to go into those in very much detail, but we narrowed it down to 2 options, 2A and 2B. And so that is basically taking the higher increases were in the land leases, and those increases went up to about 35 cents. So when we talked to the commission, we split it over a 5-year period. We just split that in half. And basically 2A and 2B have that split portion within it. When we went to the commission, they voted on 2A and 2B, and they voted for 2A. And so this is a breakdown of 2A. If you look at all the increases, what that increase is going to be percentage-wise, and then what is that increase going to be for each hangar owner. And there's a lot of information here, so I'm summarizing. But if you look at the last line at the bottom of the chart, you'll see that the total yearly increase for 2A is about $8,000 a year. So split out over a number of properties, this is a fairly nominal amount. This is option 2B, and really the difference in option 2A and 2B is that the split for new is going to, so new leases, they're going to be split that using a split increase. And for existing leases, they're going to be going up by CPI and kind of building up to that. And where we landed as staff is that we have a number of parcels that we're going to be developing out there. And it's really important now as we expand that we have a lease rate that matches what we need moving forward. And part of the cost of service study was for everyone to pay their fair share, equitability at the airport. So that's the only difference with option 2B. This is a summary of the actual rates that we're proposing, and I've thrown a lot of numbers at you tonight, but this is the simplified sheet, and this is what we would actually present. And it goes through the proposed fees and then the percent change for each one of those. The top is the city owns buildings out at the airport. Those are the rent rates on the top part. And then the lease rates are the bottom portion. And you'll see the percentage increase there. We also did a market comparison, and we didn't, in the cost of service study, we gathered as much information as we could, but the commissioners have actually done more, and there's going to be more information coming. This is kind of hard to gather it because there's so many differences in the type of uses at the airports. But this was what we started with last year, and as you can see, we're kind of in the middle. We started out at actually, I believe 37 cents as our top end. The city of Boise is at 38, so that didn't really make sense, so we adjusted it down. And they're gathering more information now. But if you see that 31 cents is splitting the increase, half of it this year, half of it in 5 years when we renegotiate it, we land in the ballpark of some of those other airports. And these are the key takeaways from the processes. One, sustainability. This was a directive from the mayor and from the city council, and that's what we really want out there. And we learned a lot in this last year about how much we're needing to spend to run the airport, about where we're going in the future. We just got done with a master plan. We're doing a master plan for the terminal building area too. So that new lease rates and rental rates to sustain basic operations. What you're looking at tonight is just going to take care of the basic operations at the airport. It doesn't take care of new terminal building. It doesn't take care of major capital purchases. Number two, equity. This new rate structure provides a more equitable cost distribution as the airport grows. And as these old leases turn over, they're going to go up to the new rates. And as people build new hangars out there, they're going to jump up to these new hangar lease rates. I want to say this, and I think this has been going over and over in our meetings with the commission, and I think for the commissioners on right now, thank you for your work on this, but we want to highlight the importance of property tax to running the airport. And so in reality, it's approved every year on whether the airport gets back the property taxes that it pays. So the airport pays about $240,000 in property tax every year. Part of that goes to the county. And then there is about $113,000 that's actual city property tax. And right now the city, as part of our budgeting process, is all going back to the airport. And what the airport is looking for is a formal pledge from the council for all city property taxes to be returned to the airport. And what we found is that there was a $170,000 deficit when we went through the cost of service study. But if we get the $113,000 back from property taxes, we're only about $60,000 off from our baseline operations costs. So, in summary, it's really important for the airport to have the property taxes from the city returned. The airport needs it to run. So with that, I'll stand for any questions, and this is a open.
So Mayor Jeff, just clarification. You said the airport is currently getting $113,000 returned.
Correct, they're getting right about, around the same amount that they're putting in for the city portion of the property tax.
Right.
Not the 240, but the.
So that's
130.
already happening.
Yeah, and what's the exact amount? Is it 130?
I don't need the exact,
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is, whatever the taxes are, that is being returned, and Doug, you're over there, and that's been happening, you're okay with that?
Got to press the button first. The amount we've been giving them has been very close to what they've been generating, but I think it's agreeable to say that what they generate in city property taxes should also be used to return to them and fund their operations.
Are there
So-
any other questions?
I guess my question is just, so what are we doing differently in that respect? I understand the rate increases, but what, do we have to have a motion or something,
The
or?
public hearing is actually about the rate increase. It's a requirement.
So this other is just,
The property tax piece?
yes.
You know, the only thing that we could do, and I think our leaseholders at the airport would love to see, and the airport commission, a commitment from the city that we would return tax revenue generated at the airport to the airport, that they knew that would always happen.
So that is not, though, part of this public
That
hearing,
is not
correct?
part of this.
So that would be an action item at a future council? Okay, thank you. Yeah,
Yes.
I would recommend that would be on the agenda, Mayor.
Thank you. So noted. So bring it back as an agenda item. So, yes.
I'm sorry, yeah. Yeah, I agree with that, because every year that I'm aware of, Monty and you and the commissioner waiting for us to decide what we're going to give them in their next coming budgets. So they can't progress, there's no development until we give them that. If they had a set rate, a set pace of what we're going to give them, maybe that might make development a little better. And Randy, maybe you can discuss that a little bit more, but I think we're on the right track with that. I agree with that. Good job.
So I think I would recommend that we do bring that back before council, but let's have Doug weigh into it, because it's an interesting mix to see what's coming in and how that all works within the budget process. But I fully support this direction. I think it's a good idea, and we just need to look at it through the budget process.
And Mayor, especially as we grow, there's 123 lots out there, hangar lots, and that money that comes in, the property taxes, could be going to some of the capital things we need. You know, if there's a repair or an addition to the terminal, then some of that money could be used for that type of thing as we expand.
Okay. If there are no further questions for Jeff, this is a public hearing. So, and Jeff, you can just stand there for a second if you want to, because we may be quick. So Debbie, do we have anyone signed up for this public hearing?
I have a Steve Henry.
I would like to ask Steve if you support the recommendation for 2A, if you're aware of it. Do you mind coming forward? Thank you, Jeff. Sorry.
You bet.
Can you remind us of your name again? Your name again?
Steve Henry,
Okay, thank you. And your address?
1619 Southside Boulevard.
Thank you. Thank you for your interest in being here tonight. So I just am curious, do you support the Airport Commission recommendation of option 2A?
Well, being a hangar owner out there, I don't really like to see the leases go up. I mean, it's a good airport. It's got to have enough money to run and all that, but I just never like seeing taxes and leases and stuff go up on me. That's why I'm here.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate you being willing to stand up and walk up here, and thank you for your comments.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. So we don't have anyone else signed up to speak. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on behalf of or in opposition to the recommendations from the Airport Commission? Okay, so seeing none. Council, do you have any further questions for Jeff? Or comments? So I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So do we have any further questions? I believe the Airport Commission's recommendation was 2A, which was a very conservative increase that followed, I think, the CPI.
Mayor, I'll make the motion that we accept the Airport Commission's recommendation for 2A as far as the rate increase.
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Madam Mayor, can I double check on that one too. We have 532. Jeff, was that your intended action item, the resolution adopting the increases?
Sorry, I've got to go back and find 532. Okay, so we wait and vote then? Okay, I'm sorry.
Whoops, another one.
I apologize, that's mine too. I've got it out of order here, so, okay, it is a resolution. Thank you. That's the last one like that, and I'll try not to mess it up again. Okay, so at that, this concludes this public hearing, which is 6:3, and we'll move on to 6:4.
That was 6-2.
Oh, excuse, I just checked the wrong box there. Okay, now 6:3. I was going to move, it's even faster. Okay, 6:3 is the action item, and this is the vacation of approximately a 59-foot by 269-foot triangular portion of Karcher Road right-of-way. This is north of 2245 North Samantha Court in the Cortland Business Park Number 2 subdivision, and this is in order to allow an extended and gated business delivery into the business at 2245 North Samantha Court, and this is for Robert Coleman. Is our applicant here? Thank you. Go ahead and come forward. And I'll let you restate your name and your address. And thank you for sharing with us what you'd like to do.
Bob Coleman, the building 2245 North Samantha Court. We've been working on this project to get, the road basically sits, see, it's the old Karcher Road, and it's not used anymore as public right-of-way, so it's kind of a dead end. And so for the last 5 years, we've been trying to go to the state of Idaho, which no one really understood who actually had the property in front of the north side of the business. There was some empty land as well as that road. And so we were trying to get the land for the longest time because people use it to kind of cut off, or there's a street light, and so people will use that land to try and go off the road and miss the street light. So they come flying down, and they barreled into our fence a number of times. It's cost us tens of thousands of dollars in repairs and so forth. So basically, we're trying to get the land the state of Idaho doesn't want to give up, but the road itself makes sense to basically take control of that so we can put a fence up and some barriers so people don't drive it and use the dirt mound and so forth to bypass the street light. So it provides a little bit more safety and security to maintain and take care of that section of road, which no one's using, so that kind of helps.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions? Okay, so this is a public hearing tonight, so we'll have a staff report following you, and then we'll open it up for public hearing, and then just listen if there are any questions that come up. I'll have you come back so that you can answer those before we close public hearing.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. Rodney?
Mayor and Council, Rodney Ashby, Director of Planning and Zoning. The applicant has stated his purpose there. I'll just continue pretty quickly through here. The intent is for safety and to secure the area with a fence, and it is not to construct a building on it, which will become important in just a little bit as we discuss comments we've received. So the existing zoning is the IL zone. In the comprehensive plan, it's actually both industrial and commercial. And here's the zone. You can see totally surrounded by the IL or light industrial zoning. To the north is the Karcher Road and Nampa Paving and Asphalt. To the south is IL still applicant. Its property is here. I'm trying to show it on the screen there. There is a small sliver of land that he actually also owns. So there's two properties here, and then just the right-of-way to the north of that is what he's requesting to vacate. To the east is Karcher Road. To the west is Dunkley Music and Old Karcher Road. So here's Dunkley Music here, and the Old Karcher Road. And you can see, again, it used to be that the Karcher Road continued all the way east and west here, and now it's been diverted to the north for the interchange at I-84. And so you can see the property here that's directly in front of this applicant's property. So correspondence we've had, Intermountain Gas has existing facilities and would like to retain their existing easement. CenturyLink did have reservations about the vacation request. They said that they currently have facilities in the street right-of-way. The developer would need to provide full construction documentation and pay for relocation of those facilities to the other side of Karcher Road. The existing building south of Karcher Road has cabling going through that existing right-of-way as well. That would need to be relocated at the expense of the developer. Idaho Power Company said that they want to maintain that existing their facilities in the right of way right now, so they would require an easement for their facilities as well. Engineering Division also had comments. They've been working with this applicant for some time to try to figure this out and work out a good solution for them. Currently, the road is not maintained in front of this property, and so it essentially operates as the applicant's driveway in a lot of ways. So recommended conditions are in your packet, but they would require just to the north part of this this vacation area, you can see that blue line running through there. That's a water line, and so we would require an easement since that that line right now, that water line is in the right of way. We would require a new utility easement, and then any proposed fencing to install shall require dig line utility locating prior to excavation to make sure that nothing is hit. Applicable regulations, public hearing fulfills the due process requirements of state code, listed that ordinance there. Right-of-way vacation shall be done by ordinance of the city council and approved first by the same during a public hearing. So staff analysis, I just wanted to touch base on that CenturyLink comment. I believe that they assumed that a building is being constructed here. That's not the intent. There's no intent of covering up the utility there, the CenturyLink utilities. Simply the applicant wants to extend their fence out, put in a gate, and start maintaining the road, but it doesn't really have, as far as I could see, and engineering's review of this, didn't seem to have any significant impact on CenturyLink facilities as long as they get an easement secured there. And we don't anticipate that'll be a concern. Applicant is willing to create the utility easement. I had conversations with the applicant for the vacated right-of-way, and it would just be a blanket utility easement for all those utilities. And vacation of right-of-way appears to comply with all regulations and appears to create no significant concerns for utility providers. These are the recommended conditions I've already discussed and are in your packet. And I placed a motion on the screen for your consideration.
Thank you, Rodney. Any questions?
Mayor?
Yes.
Rodney, just for clarification purposes, the motion, or what we're being asked is to allow an extended gated business driveway. Is that planned to be off of Karcher Road, where there's appears to be somewhat of a crossover that's happening over this property now? Is that the intent?
Mayor, I would maybe defer to engineering or the applicant, maybe, what their intent there is. I believe it's actually the gated areas here.
To the west?
Yeah, to the west. Is that correct? Yeah. That's correct. Okay.
Oh, okay. So will there still be access allowed off onto West Karcher Road? It appears
Here.
to be.
Thank you.
Mayor, Councilman Haverfield, the irrigation district, Pioneer Irrigation District, has a lateral that runs there on the north side of Karcher, in front of the sugar beet factory, and then along and crosses the road here as it turns north. And so that approach there is actually their maintenance approach. And so there's no business access that should be using that. It's strictly for the irrigation district as they go through there. Though in my experience up there with them, they generally come in off of the, to the west, rather, because that's where their boxes are closer. And so that approach is not something that we would want to see used other than for that use.
So the gated, and again, I apologize for saying West Karcher since there's two indications for it, what used to be and what now is looping up. So the access from the west over this sliver of ground is where they're planning on the gated entrance.
Based on the applicant's comments, yes.
Okay, so we're not encouraging access directly out onto the new West Karcher, which is what my question is.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Are there any additional questions at this time for staff? Okay, we will move into public hearing, and this is a public hearing. And Debbie, do we have anyone signed
The only
up?
one I have is Bob Coleman.
Okay. So is there anyone here that had intended to testify during this public hearing? Okay, seeing no one, this is an opportunity. Bob, would you like to come back and make any further comments or closing comments? And staff, or council, do you have any questions for the applicant? Do you have the clarity?
Right to the north side where it comes onto that.
Go ahead and come forward, just and speak into the
To that
mic.
Karcher Road, just to the north, yeah, that area right there. That's actually a dip. The only reason that looks like an on and off access point is because people drive over there. No one's actually supposed to drive over that. I mean, there's a mountain. I'm surprised people even don't bottom out. So most of the access actually is to the west side, and it just comes down the old Karcher Road. So what we're trying to do is also block off where people can't, that's where they make the shortcut in front of that light, to bypass the light to keep going down to Lowe's and that place. So.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions? Thank you very much, and no further comments. Okay? So I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Council discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve the vacation of approximately 59 foot by 200 foot, 69 foot triangular portion of Karcher Road for the applicant Robert Coleman at 2245 North Samantha Court, Nampa.
With all findings and conditions as
ma'am.
recommended.
Second with recommended conditions of approval.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Roll call.
Brunner,
Yes.
Mucci,
Yes.
Levi? Bauer,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Okay, so that concludes 6.3, and we will move on now to 6.4. And I would like to say, Councilwoman Levi, because you are on Teams, we don't always see you. So I'm going to have you speak up if you need to say something or would like to interject. It's just a little difficult since I can't see you. So thank you. If you do want to interject, please speak loudly. Okay, 6.4 is an action item. This is a variance to section 1017D3, limiting the number of accessory structures in the single-family zone to 2. The applicant is seeking to construct a new accessory structure in addition to 3 accessory structures which already exist on a single-family 1.64 acre parcel at 411 7th Avenue North in the Sylvan Heights subdivision. And this is for Devin and Diane Stevens. And is our applicant here? Hi, go ahead and come forward and go ahead and give us your name and address, even though we possibly already stated it.
No, it's okay. Diane Stevens, 411 7th Avenue North, Tampa.
And share with us what you'd like to do.
Okay, so I'm not sure, I guess you guys have this one. Is there a way to pull up the one that I labeled sitemap, Nampa information? I don't know if you guys have what I submitted, but it was just sort of a plan. Maybe one more? It's okay, that's fine. So we own about 1.7 acres off of 7th Avenue North, and it's there on the map. We have a detached garage. Our home does not have an attached garage. So we have a detached garage, and then we have an existing shop back there in the back, and then a small little storage shed next to it. And so what we would like to do is to keep our existing detached garage, which is off to the right of that red arrow with the white roof, and then keep that larger kind of shop building that we have. Our plan is to take down the smaller little building that you can see there and build a 40 by 40 shop for use on, we have a lot of car projects, teenage kids and stuff. And so just to build an extra, a larger shop there on our property. We also own the piece of property behind it that looks brown. It's all kind of dead there with the trees in the back behind those buildings. So we have a pretty large piece of property and we're back off the road. One of the attachments that I included kind of shows that from 7th Avenue North, you wouldn't really see much. You'd see the front of our garage, the new shop. Yeah, I mean, neither one of those pictures would you even see what we're planning on doing. It's back behind the big furthermost pine tree on that bottom picture. But it's pretty far back on our property off the road. It wouldn't be visible. Yeah, it would be back behind that tree right there. And so we're just would like to keep our, like I said, our detached garage, keep our existing shop, and then build a new shop building. And I know that the limitations right now are 1 home and 2 outbuildings in our residential neighborhood, but most of the lots on our street are about 0.15 acres, and ours, like I said, is about 11 times that large. And so I feel like we technically could split it into 11 lots and build 33 buildings there, which is not what we want to build. You know, that's not what we're after, but we would like permission, a variance to be able to build a new existing shop there on that property. So.
Awesome. Council, do you have any questions for the applicant? Okay, so as you heard, we'll have you come back after the public hearing.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much. So Parker, hi, welcome. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Parker Bodley, Associate Planner for the City of Nampa. The action requested from you tonight is the granting of a variance of Nampa City Code Section 1017D3, which limits the number of accessory structures in any single-family zone to 2. The applicant is seeking to construct a new accessory structure in addition to the 3 already existing on the property at 411 7th Avenue North. And as I stated on the application, it would be a 1,600 square foot accessory structure. And the image is kind of hard to see, but it's right there. The property is located in the RS6 zone and is surrounded by IL properties to the north, RS6 and IL to the east, and those are residential properties to the east, and RS6 zone properties to the west and on the south. These are street views of the property. As you know, variance may be granted to an applicant that shows undue hardship based on special site characteristics relating to the size, shape, or dimensions of the site. Variance is not intended to allow something that others do not have a permitted right to do. The purpose is to provide fair treatment. So in this case, we are entertaining this request for additional accessory structure, and the regulations would be that if the literal interpretation of the code would deprive the applicant of privileges enjoyed by other properties in the area, if there are extraordinary site characteristics that do not apply to properties within the same zoning district, if the interpretation of the code would deprive the applicant of privileges enjoyed by other property owners in the same zoning district, if by granting this variance we are not granting special privileges, and then if this would be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, or if it's materially injurious or property to the properties in the vicinity. So this is the code that we would be requesting a variance to, which is 1017D. which limits the number of accessory structures in any single-family zone to 2. Staff found that 1017D does not consider the lot size and its limitations. Because this lot is much bigger than the residential lots surrounding it, the council may choose to approve the variance. However, the approval may be giving the owner special permission that the landowners in the single-family zones do not have. This code does apply to all single-family zones, no matter how big they may be. The approval may set a precedent for future cases, which is something to consider. Nampa Engineering Division and the Building Department both stated that any construction on the property would need to follow the proper permitting and plan review processes. Should the council choose to approve the request for variance, staff recommends it would be approved with conditions as listed in your staff report and any other conditions that you may seek see fit to impose this evening. And here are proposed motions for your reference, and I'll stand for any questions.
Mayor, if I may, clarification. I thought that Mrs. Stevens says they were planning on tearing down the one smaller structure, so that would only leave 2 structures. And clarification for me, because this is educational to me. So any detached garage is considered an accessory building?
Right. So any other structure outside of the primary structure is an accessory structure.
Okay, so bottom line is what I'm hearing though is then if we're counting that, which I don't understand that, but if we're counting that, then they were only actually adding 1 beyond the 2 as far as what the code, since they're tearing down the other smaller structure.
And we might need to clarify with the applicant.
I heard her say that when she was up here, so that's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything beyond the 2 accessory structures they would have would require the variance.
Okay.
So if they plan on tearing 1 down or 2 to get within that 2, then they wouldn't need a variance for it.
Okay, and totally off the subject, but I would just recommend sometime that we look at that code, and as far as detached garages, I would recommend we do not count that as an accessory building if they do not have a garage that is attached.
Thank you. So noted, Rodney. So we'll take a look at that. Thank you. Are there any other questions for staff at this time? Okay. Parker, we may come back to you, but we'll see. Okay, so this is a public hearing, and Debbie, do we have anyone signed up?
Nope, just Diane.
Okay, so we don't have anyone signed up to testify on behalf or in opposition to this. Is there anyone here that had intended to testify? Okay, seeing none, are there any further questions for our applicant? And would our applicant like to come forward? Could you go ahead and come forward? This is your opportunity to close before we close public hearing. And feel free to provide any clarity.
Yeah, that was just one thing I wanted to clear up, is that one of those buildings that you can see from there is I don't know, probably 1970. It's a pretty shaky little building. And so it is counted as one of our accessory structures, but it's not something that's very, it's the small one off to the side there with the white roof. But it's something that we would not keep long-term. And also the one to the right looks much bigger than it is because there's a large overhang where we keep a tractor and a lawnmower and stuff. And so, but I did call to specify whether our detached garage counted, because if it was attached, it wouldn't be included. And so the little detached garage and then the shop is our two. So we are looking for a variance for a third structure, I guess, but the detached garage is included as one of those. So I guess that's it, unless anyone has any questions.
Are there any further questions? Okay. And no further comments from you?
I guess not.
Okay, thank you so much. I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Mayor, I'll make the motion that we accept the variance with the understanding that that small structure does get torn down before the other structure is built, and that under the conditions of and recommendations of approval.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Councilman
Mayor
Haverford?
Kling, so were you directing to her, then she shook her head yes, or, okay. I didn't catch the, okay.
I know that doesn't happen often with me, that people.
Have to keep up with your nuances. The one thing I would say is it's nice to have an accessory structure that is plenty far away from the property line when we're normally looking at accessory structures that are too close to property lines. So I appreciate this one being on a large enough lot that it can handle it. So I'm in favor of the motion.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
You're good to go. Thank you. Item 6.5 is an action item. This is to approve the City of Nampa's Community Development Block Grant for 2019 Program Year Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report for submission to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which needs to be done on or before December 30th. Matt?
Good evening, Mayor Kling, Council.
I see you're walking better, Matt.
I'm walking really good, actually. Those folks at St. Luke's did a wonderful job on the old knee. But yes, I'm here for the public hearing portion anyway about the annual CAPER, which is the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. We provide that every year to both HUD and to the citizens of Nampa and council and everyone else as a report on how we did with the allocation that began at the beginning of the prior program year. So in this particular case with 2019, we had allocated roughly around $1.1 million in prior program year and current 2019 allocation money. And we received around $69,684 in program income that we had allocated out and spent down during that, had allocated to program activities during that program year. And as a nice surprise, in 2020, we also received our first round of allocation funding that did flow through into our 2019 action plan, which was the CARES Act money. We did receive $471.7 of that CARES Act, the first round, which was amended into our 2019 action plan. We did not expend any of those funds during the program year, but we anticipate those to be spent down here over the next, into 2020. So those funds in total brought us to $1.6 million that we had available to spend during 2019 action plan. And so far, I think for the most part, most of the programs we did spend down pretty effectively, with the exception of several of our construction activities that were delayed. I imagine in many ways due to the same reasons we delayed a lot of things this year, which was COVID related, a lot of construction going on. And so we have a lot of open activities that were related to construction. All of those are currently in process or we are expecting to fully expend by the end of January. So we should have that piece of our 2019 program year wrapped up here in the next month, hopefully. So otherwise, we had expended during the program year $445,000 of the $1.1 million in regular grant funds. And like I said before, none of the COVID money was expended, but we do anticipate those to start rolling out here in January as well. And then of the unexpended balance of 689, we anticipate a really large chunk of that. A lot of it's already moving through AP to be fully expended here by January. So we did have one activity that did carry over. I apologize, Doug. We'll try to do our best to not carry over construction activities in the future. But we had one from the prior program that carried over, which was the downtown, University and Hawley construction activity just ran a little bit long again, same as these ones that ran a little into the extra program year. So we did have some additional funds that were expended for some pedestrian improvements downtown. And we had one applicant for the historic facade program, which we did get out the door last year. And we have one more that I think we will have an application in soon for another downtown business improvement. And I think at that point, HUD is sort of looking to us to close that program out. So once we finish this application, that historic facade program will probably terminate and we'll reallocate those funds to something new. I'll just skip over that next chart that was dealing with CARES Act. Again, we've fully funded that through the allocation process. We just have not expended it yet. So You may remember from the action planning process, we were sort of limited on what we can spend in administrative and public service categories. So I wanted, and part of the CAPER reporting is to identify what we did spend to make sure we did not go over those limitations. As far as public or planning administration, we did come in right around 14% with 117,000. We were a little under budget on that. A lot of travel and training was canceled due to coronavirus, but so we were well under the 20% limitation on administration and planning. And then as far as the public service, we came in with a final expenditure of $99,078.24, which is a 12%, also below our 15% cap on public service. And then I think otherwise, public service activities did really well. We had a total of 316 individuals, low income, qualifying individuals that were served through our public service activities through the, we had money going out the door for sheltering victims of domestic violence. We had 2 rapid rehousing programs that were taking people who are experiencing homelessness and getting them into stable housing with some case management, and helping them through counseling on finances, through incentives for saving programs, getting them in an environment where 6 to 8 months down the road, they're graduating from the program and staying stably housed. And I'm looking forward to seeing actually some of these numbers a year out from the program to see how many of them are still in stable housing. So, so far the reports are pretty good that they have really good participation, and that program's been very successful. And then of course we had the Meals on Wheels, which is always very well received, and they do a great job serving the senior community in our in Nampa. So public service did a great job. They expended all their funds for the most part, and next year I anticipate the same. Again, our public improvements, we did finish the city park playground improvement, and we did finish one sidewalk activity benefiting on an area basis about 7,000 Nampa residents. The only thing I will mention, you guys had the packet a little early, I guess, or part of the packet. So I did have some correspondence with Councilman Bruner, and part of that was related to the brush up Nampa. I wasn't very clear on the brush up. We had listed here on our activities that I had one accomplishment for the year for brush up Nampa, and I may not have been clear enough in the memo that we did not have the normal brush up program operate as we normally might. We built up to it, and we're all ready to go with the volunteers and the homes. But with COVID, we had to cancel that because it's a volunteer program. It's all volunteer labor. And due to the concerns about COVID and social distancing, we decided to cancel it for that year. And in order to get some accomplishment, we decided to try to move forward with helping some folks that we had declined in the past that had lead paint on the home. And so we took our budget and we applied it to one of the prior program year applicants that was fairly deteriorated. It's over by Nampa High School. It looks amazing today, but we were able to hire one lead certified contractor and get one unit done with the funding we had allocated. So we had some accomplishment, even though we weren't able to produce the normal program as we would have liked to. It was successful enough that I will probably be back next year to ask for additional money to try to do that every year, have our regular program, and then try to pick up a couple homes a year with some lead mitigation on our deteriorating housing stock in Nampa. So, but other than that one point, I think everything else should be as it was presented in the memo. And with that one caveat that I did correspond with Darrell about the reason we had only one accomplishment on brush up.
Here, let me think, Matt spent actually quite a bit of time with me on the phone and also writing about that and some other items. I was just a little concerned that one property cost over $20,000, and now I do understand this.
Well, and again, like Chris had spent a large chunk of time preparing for the normal program, and so that was money that was sort of already out the door. So we said,
that is a lot more expensive.
yeah, let's get something done for all that effort and time. And so I was glad she's actually kind of a resident lead expert now. She's done quite a bit of training on that, and she did a fabulous job getting that one unit completed. So I'll stand for any questions if you have any, or.
Are there any questions from them? Okay. And did you want to do an official introduction? Did I miss it?
Well, that is Krista. She's actually on. She's going to present the home repair SOP tonight.
Okay, so a little later.
Yeah,
Okay,
so she'll
perfect.
get a chance. You'll get to meet her, and she's doing a wonderful job for us. And I guess I will say, as of the moment that I came to the meeting, I had not received any public comment. It has been open for I believe it was a little over, been 20 days, I believe. But we have not received at least anything directly through me, and I do not know if anything came through the normal portal. So as of now, there has been no public comment. Hopefully someone's here tonight.
Thank you.
Say something about it. But thank you for your time.
Thank you, Matt. Debbie, do we have anyone signed up? Nope. Okay, so we do not have, this is a public hearing, and we've opened public hearing, and we do not have anyone signed up to testify in any regard. And Matt is both our applicant and our staff report, so I would stand for a motion. Is there anyone here that had intended to testify? Seeing none, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
I would just like to thank Matt. It's been a lot of work to try to be innovative with the money that we had to do the most good. And he's really thoughtful about where he looks to allocate those dollars for the best and highest use. I sit through a lot of meetings with him, and he's really thoughtful. He asks a lot of questions, and I feel like the city is in very good hands when he's at the table. I just want to thank you for the due diligence that you put behind the investment of these dollars.
Why don't you make the motion while you're at it?
You could do that, make a motion. Yes.
Okay, I got to.
To approve the cities.
Yes, so I will make a motion to approve the, where, I gotta find it first.
You can read it right here.
Oh, thank you. You got, approve the City of Nampus Community Development Block Grant 2019 Program Year Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, or CAPER, for submission to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development on or before December 30th, 2020.
I'll second that. Oh, sorry, Sandy.
Sandy has it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? I only have one comment besides thank you. Great job. Jean, thank you for being engaged enough to actually know and to be able to communicate. Shall we give downtown one more before we close it to say, guys, going, gone?
For the facade.
For the facade program.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I'm already working through one. It doesn't hurt me to add more in. So
Yeah, through the BID, just letting him know that you're going to close the program. And if anybody had ever thought of it, now's the time.
I will.
Yeah, thank you. Any further comments? Hearing none, roll call. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Bauer? Levi?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes. So we have one more public hearing, and if council doesn't mind, I'd like to go ahead and finish this public hearing, and then we're going to take a quick break before we come back for the rest of our business items. Is that okay? Okay. So this last public hearing is action item 6.6 on the agenda. It's a comprehensive plan text amendment for Chapter 11, Section 11.8 to incorporate the adopted Nampa Historic Preservation Plan 2020 into the 2040 Comprehensive Plan by reference, and it includes a new description of the plan for the city of Nampa. Doug, thank you for being here to talk to us.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, Doug Critchfield with the Tampa Planning Department. We have before you this evening a proposal by the city staff, Economic Development Department, to incorporate the adopted Nampa Historic Preservation Plan, which was adopted by the council in August of 2020, into the 2040 Comprehensive Plan by reference, and it also includes a change to the text in section 11.8, which describes the historic preservation plan. We did go through an extensive public process for this project. This was brought to the Planning and Zoning Commission on October 27th, and they made the recommendation of incorporation into the comprehensive plan of the changes to section 11.8. This law that's stated in your staff report essentially lays out the rules and regulations regarding the changing of the comprehensive plan, and that the council has the authority to do so. Without going into the details of the plan, which you've already seen, just wanted to point out a couple of items that should you vote to approve this incorporation this evening. It sets a series of implementation strategies which are similar to the comprehensive plan which you adopted earlier this year. And I just wanted to highlight a few of these strategies that are important.
in a 1 to 3 year strategy, a short-term strategy would be to meet with landmark property owners that are preservation of properties that are considered to be historic or have historic value. It also indicates to staff that we need to start preparing a demolition review ordinance for your consideration. So that would be part of this process. In the longer, midterm and longer term, the staff would be tasked with exploring the potential for a local register of historic places, which is a very interesting prospect for Nampa, an exciting prospect for us. And also to add the design review authority, that would be a change in the design review code, which also would have to come before the planning commission and council in order to do so. We, in correspondence on this proposal, we did not receive any comments from other public agencies or the general public. The findings as listed in your staff report are geared around the discussion behind these changes, and that this incorporation process aligns the two plans and the associated implementation. So the recommendation, this is the text change. The first recommendation is to incorporate the historic preservation plan, and then the second would be to update the comprehensive plan. And this is also stated in your staff report. So with that, I'll go back to the first slide indicating the requested action item.
And I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate your work on this and on the full comprehensive plan that you were hugely impactful on. So
All right, thank you. Yeah.
Are there any questions for Doug? Okay, so Doug is both our applicant and our staff in this particular process, and this is a public hearing, and we, again, don't have anyone signed up to, with any comments to testify in support or in opposition, and Doug did not receive any other queries. With that, I would stand for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, council discussion.
Mayor Kling, I'll make the motion as requested to adopt the Nampa Historic Preservation Plan for 2020 into the 2040 comp plan as presented to us this evening.
Okay, we've had, that was Cindy, okay. So we've had a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Munchy?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Levi? Haverfield?
Yes.
That concludes the public hearing portion of our city council meeting, which is section 6. We're going to go back to item 513 after we take a break.
Mayor, just,
Yes.
are these folks here on 13?
You are here on 13.
Is it okay if no one's in?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Doral, thank
Thanks.
you so much, and I apologize.
That doesn't mean I'm going to vote, in favor, but I'm giving you a break.
Thank you, Darrell. So let's do action item 513 is a subdivision plat short approval of Wolf Pack fourplexes, which is a multifamily residential zoning district at 622 North 44th Street. It's for division into 7 fourplex lots and 1 common lot for a total of 28 dwelling units for Wolf Building and Development and Patrick Wolf. This is an action item for approval of this short plat. And this is not a public hearing, and there isn't any testimony, it's just an approval.
Mayor, I'll make the motion that we accept the short plot and with all the conditions, there's quite a few of those recommendations. Or is there something we
I'm
need
sorry,
to do
Rodney,
different,
I did not defer to you.
Mayor and council, I think that's fine. You did ask me to talk about short plats.
We will go ahead and add that next.
Okay.
If you'd like to.
That's fine.
I'll second
Place it on the agenda.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or questions for this approval? Hearing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Munchy?
Yes.
Levi? Yes. Bauer?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
So you waited a long time for that. It was pretty simple. Thank you.
It's only 8 o'clock.
Thank you. So council, we're going to pause and we're going to do item 514 because these two go together. So we need to hang on just a second. So item 514, the short plat approvals, I'd like for Rodney to talk about the process that has kind of where we've gone on these short plat approvals, what we just did. So he's going to talk a little bit and then we'll take a break.
I'll be quick. Mayor and council, on the screen, I placed the approval process for preliminary, final, and short plats. The red check marks up there on the screen indicate what a normal project would go through if they were going through a platting process. Let's say they have more than 7 properties that they're going to be building on or separating out, subdividing. That's the process they would go through. A preliminary plat public hearing at Planning and Zoning Commission, then they go to a business item before Planning and Zoning for a final plat, and then they go to City Council for the consent agenda. We used to have it that a short plat, which is smaller than 7 or smaller lots, would go to Planning and Zoning for a public hearing, and then it would go to City Council for a consent agenda. This last year, you asked me to bring that before you as a business item because it didn't go through 3 steps of approval. But I've multiple times we've brought these short plats to you. It doesn't seem like there's much discussion. It's gone through that public hearing process, and so we're looking to you for direction. Do you want me to continue to bring these before you as a planning, as a business item that you will have a staff report on, or should we place them back on the consent agenda? City Code allows us to approve these through consent agenda.
So we discussed this just a little bit before this meeting because what we've done is it's been on the regular agenda, but many times there's no discussion. It just goes through and we approve it. So one thought that I had was to move it back to the consent agenda, which code does allow for, and then ask council, at the night of the council meeting, you can pull something off of consent so that we can discuss it if you feel inclined. And so that might be one way to manage these short plats, would be to go ahead and put them back to the consent agenda and then have council, if you have a question, pull it off of consent to discuss at a council meeting. So we just wanted to, and talking to Rodney, realized we should probably come back and re-clarify with council what the will of the council is. Thoughts? Thumbs up? I see a thumbs up. Okay, so let's have a motion to go ahead and move them back to the consent agenda, giving the council, and it's just an all-in-favor vote.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we move the short plat approvals to the consent agenda in the future. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Now we can take a break. Okay, so we're going to take a short break and we'll come back to finish the agenda. And you know what? We're halfway through new business, so this is good. We're going to be a lot earlier than I thought.
I'm not going to cry about that.
I'm thrilled.
Your sweaters come up here. I can't have this.
How are you doing?
Am I flying high?
It's just, it's a lot right now. Yeah. I started doing something.
And it has come to my attention that item 15 is the action item to authorize the mayor to sign the West Valley Humane Society agreement for 2020-2022. We did not receive that back from the West Valley Humane Society, so we're going to move that item to the next meeting. Todd, do we need a motion to do so?
Madam Mayor, that would be appropriate and transparent. I don't know if it's required, but it would be appropriate.
Okay. So I'd stand for a motion to move item 515 to the next meeting. And all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 516 is an action item to adopt the CDBG-funded home repair loan program standard operating procedures as amended. This was reviewed and approved by legal. Matt?
Council, all right, I'm just going to be up here briefly, and then Chris is going to take over. Do a fine job, I'm sure. I just wanted to, again, part of that correspondence over the weekend with Darrell, Councilman. I apologize. The kind of with each of these things we're presenting today, and one of the questions he had was related to the home loan repair program, and he had raised some concerns about kind of the total homes that have been served so far and the number that was served this year, and whether it was a good return on investment. And so I provided just some clarification on more what Chris's role is, not necessarily just in onboarding the new 5 loans. This year, she actually sort of vetted 10 applicants, approved 5. The rest had to be disqualified income or property restrictions. And then of all the homes, most of the homes that we have in our program are deferred 20 years. And they have been since they were first signed on. And so we have to touch base with all of those people every year and make sure they're still insured, make sure they're still compliant, still owner occupied. And so they had a lot of touches last year. I asked them to do a pretty thorough review of all the loans. They did find a few that were no longer in compliance, and they worked out a repayment plan. And those 2 loans that were out of compliance are now repaid. And so they do a lot of work that sometimes isn't reflected in the numbers that we accomplish because we're still also servicing old loans. Hence the request to streamline the standard operating procedure. And with that, that's pretty much what, if I summarize that correctly, Councilman Bruner?
Yeah, you
That sound fine?
did.
Okay.
I think
that was the only thing that maybe wasn't in the packets.
the main thing, I'm in favor of this efficiency, and we'll hear Krista. I'm just said that when this comes up, I realize this contract with you, when this comes up another year, I'm going to be scrutinizing it very closely,
Sure.
whether
And
we
we'll
feel
come-
like the time merits what we
Yep.
put into this, or
We'll
we should
come
be
with some
contracting that out. Thanks.
Information that'll hopefully help change your minds.
All right, thanks.
Mayor and council members, it's nice to officially meet you. My name is Krista Gaona Cortez, for those of you who I have not met. I have been with the city for quite some time, but I am new to this position. I have been here a little over a year, and I have really worked to catch up our home loan program as well as increase the homes that we are able to serve with Brush Up Nampa and a new sidewalk program that we're adding on as well. So with these changes, we hope to really streamline our home loan program and be able to serve more homes. Currently, I spend a lot of my time with managing previous homes that were done maybe 2 or 3 staff members ago, and I have to remind them we're still here, but I would really like to be able to look forward to the future and continue to serve our community in the most efficient way possible.
Do we have any questions for Krista? Krista, remind the council what position you were in before you moved over into the Economic Development Office and into this current role.
Yeah, so before I moved over into this role, I served as a police assistant with the Nampa Police Department for 3 years. So I got to really become involved with our police department and make a lot of great friends, and also really learn what goes on and all the hard work that folks don't generally see when it comes to law enforcement.
And did your parents or your mom used to work for the city?
Yes, actually. My mom used to work in community development as well, and she served with the Parks Department for a long time as their admin assistant as well.
So it kind of runs in the family because Krista's brother Corey is in our office, which is great, so.
Yep, and we both started out as lifeguards, which is awesome. So,
So Krista, your dad is Ruben?
yes.
Oh, well, great. Good to see, yeah. Yeah, good man, good parents.
Thank you.
Yeah, the mom's the best of all.
Well, of course, we knew that, yeah, yeah.
Tell your dad that way.
I can't agree or disagree on record.
Are they here? Or
Very wise way.
somewhere?
They're here, yeah.
They are, because they're always going somewhere, but
Always somewhere, but they're home for now, and I've been enjoying that. So,
So aside from the family thing, and Krista, it's nice to have you get to be here so that we can all meet you. And so
Thank
that's a
you.
wonderful thing. So this is about the CDBG funded home layer.
And I'll make the motion, Mayor, and thank you, Krista and Matt, for, I know, even though I was speaking to Matt extensively, I know you did a lot of the work on this, so thanks for taking time with me. Adoption of the amended standard operating procedure for the home repair loan program as presented, I make the motion that we accept that.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I do have a quick question. Krista, do you see that there's a lot of issues going on right now because of the COVID pandemic and the residential owners are needing a lot of help?
So something that I'm finding is with the current housing market and kind of how crazy it is. In the past, a lot of homeowners would maybe just sell their home and move on, whereas now some might not be afforded that opportunity, and so they are using this as an opportunity to improve their home so they can stay longer, but also create a safe and sanitary and habitable environment as well.
So most of what you're doing is just helping them, direct them toward the ultimate goal is just to be able to keep their homes, right?
Correct, yes. So the purpose of our program is to be able to help homeowners stay in their homes when their insurance might drop them because there's a hole in their roof, or they need a new sewer line, things to make their home just baseline inhabitable. It's not necessarily a program to install a new kitchen island because they wanted to remodel. So this is for critical needs that are needed for the homes to be safe and sanitary.
And so next year, will there be more money available for that?
So Matt can speak on that in terms of our budget, but we are hoping that through our amendment changes, that instead of spending more of our time with monitoring past loans, we can take that money and go forward and help more homes in the future.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, because I
Yes.
think that's a really necessity right now.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? That was really good information. Thank you. Thank you for asking the questions.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call.
Machi?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Bruner?
Yes.
Thank you, Krista. It's so nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next item is item 517, action item. This is to authorize CDBG staff to allocate $97,000 from the Housing Affordability Project to the Housing Company for construction soft costs associated with the Canyon Terrace apartments. And this was approved in the FY21 budget.
Yes. Yes, evening, Mayor and Council, again. Again, just to quickly recap, Councilman Bruner and I discussed this particular one as well. He had some questions regarding kind of how the property would be handled once it was developed, and very specifically, I think, asking questions about vetting, who would be allowed to sort of rent those properties, and then also a question about I think it was about 15 units that are going to be held aside for families in the community that are experiencing homelessness, and he had some questions regarding how that would be sort of processed. And I reached out to the housing company, and of those 14 units there, I think they believe they called it the permanent supportive housing. So those are always sort of maintained as something they're going to try to market towards homeless or people experiencing homelessness. And that's a pretty broad definition in many cases, but with emphasis on Nampa School District families. And my understanding after communicating with them that they've already sort of been developing a list with the Nampa School District to try to, in the initial lease up of the property, to try to occupy those units with families that are currently experiencing homelessness in the Nampa School District. and then maintain sort of a list going forward. So as units become available, they already have a list ready to go that they can sort of just try to slip people in. And we've also mentioned that I've already reached out to our rapid rehousing partners and let them know that there may very well be 81 units coming soon, that they should be in touch with the housing company on trying to be sort of first on the list of people to call if they have a unit come available. So of all the things we're funding, we're trying to get them all lined up and being more efficient about those funds. But that said, there will be a pretty substantial vetting process. I think they do background checks, he said, income, criminal checks, background checks. And they also have an on-site manager, which we discussed, and then there should be an on-site maintenance person as well. So they will have, I think, a pretty robust means of vetting people before they let them in the building. Otherwise, I think this project is a great project. We're going to get 80 units. I think the other unit is being rented out to the manager or offered to the manager to manage the property. But for the $90,000, we're not even quite doubling what we spent last year. We got 4 units. With not quite doubling, we're going to get 80 units of affordable housing, and that affordable housing is going to have an affordability period of 40 years. So that's a really good investment that they will have to maintain as the housing company and developer. They'll have to maintain that property and keep it affordable to folks in our community that otherwise may not be able to find somewhere as nice to stay or somewhere at all. So I think this would be a good use of funds.
Matt, is this the one that St. Alphonsus is a partner in?
Yeah, I believe so. They have. It's right in front of their big main hospital here in Nampa, and they are working with them on. I think. I don't know that I would be an authority to speak on the arrangement they have, but they do have some. I think some additional benefit going into people that might be staying there.
Mary Clean? Didn't we not approve this some time ago? Did this become for the council before?
We approved this, so this is money that we have already put into the housing affordability as part of the 2020 action plan. What we're doing now is going to allocate that from that pool of funding to, the intent behind that pool of money was that as projects come in, where we can be reactive to them instead of asking them to wait till the next application round, because the money's already allocated. So what we're hoping to do is we have that pool of money. This gentleman and I have been communicating for a while, but with coronavirus and everything else that we were trying to amend other plans, it just sort of got pushed down the road a little bit. We finally got to a point where we could address it, but he is asking for the pre-construction soft costs from that pool of funds. So we'll have this, and in the future, we're going to market it and let developers know that it's available so that they can come and apply.
Okay.
I'll try not to always have somebody identified, and we want people to try to look at our community as a place they want to invest their development dollars.
I think it was a parking issue, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the
It's a parking issue that we
Oh,
denied.
they've been before you several times. Yeah, planning and zoning. They came back for, I think it was a parking variance.
Right,
They were
right.
short 5 or 6 units. I think he said they've worked through all that, is my understanding, and they have whatever the council decided worked out, and they're moving forward as it was recommended.
So we're going to readdress the same issue again then?
No, I think they've addressed that. At this point, they're just asking for some CDBG funds for pre-construction soft costs, which will be things like permitting fees, some design fees, all things hopefully designed to bring the cost of that project down to make it affordable over the 40-year period.
Okay.
And I think it's a 15 million plus project, so we're pretty small peanuts is relative to the whole budget, but I think what things like our contribution helps them get things like LIHTC tax credits, and it helps them with their application process to make it something that does pencil out from their perspective and allows them to keep it affordable.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was just going to clarify that it was the parking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot. He mentioned that too today. I was not aware of that. He mentioned it today.
Any further questions on this one?
Mayor, I will make a motion to authorize CDBG staff to allocate $97,000 from the Housing Affordability Project to the Housing Company for construction soft costs associated with Buchanan Terrace Apartments as approved in FY21 budget.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Thank you, Matt. Are you here for the next two? It's Beth, but maybe she's
I
online.
might stick around for
Oh,
moral
Beth,
support.
you're back there. You were right behind
Oh.
Matt, and I'm like, where did you go?
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I know it's a long night. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, 518 is an action item, and this is to authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Gorman Preservation Associates not to exceed $7,000. It is approved in the budget and approved by legal.
So moved.
You waited a long time for this.
I was here for that too, so.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Item 519 is an action item. This is to authorize the grant application for certified local government grant in the amount of $1,346 for the Historic Preservation Commissioner Training in 2021. It was approved in the FY20 budget.
Should be
Motion,
FY
Mayor.
21.
21.
Sorry.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Brunner?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Beth, you and your team have done a great job. Appreciate you guys being here. Thank you. One thing I've communicated to Beth is during this COVID piece, they have carried such an incredibly heavy load and have done it with a smile and done a really good job. Compliance at the federal level is massive. So thank you for being knowledgeable and doing it because you do a good job with it. And so thank you to all of you for your work. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Now we get to go to engineering and public works. So you guys got the end of the deal tonight. So here we go. So item 520 is an action item. This is to authorize the installation of a no parking zone on the south side of Cherry Lane adjacent to Brookdale subdivision.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Item 521 is an action item to award the bid and authorize the mayor to sign the contract for the Birch Redundant Force Main Project with Cougar Excavation in the amount of $970,412. This is approved in the FY21 budget.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions, or would you like Daniel to present anything?
Discussion just for Daniel here for a minute, please.
Okay.
So Cougar is I think, Daniel, we had a little discussion here, maybe last council meeting. Cougar is the one who's been doing the work on the underground for water or whatever on Sherman and Lincoln and all that, right?
Mayor, Councilman Brunner, that is correct.
So my question is, and I've not been a happy camper, and you said they're somewhat not very responsive, but they're the low bidder. So what was the next bid on this project? You know?
So the next bid on this project, it was approximately $1.2 million, if I remember correctly. I don't see that we included the actual, oh, there it is. Sorry, $1.14 million. So
compared to the 970 or what's it?
So almost 170-ish.
170 difference?
Yes.
Okay, and as far as for them to be a little more responsive with the timeline and so on, are we going to have any further success than what we've had in the past?
Mayor, Councilman Brunner, with the structure that we have in there, we have the liquidated damages in there on the projects that we've been doing with Cougar. We have assessed liquidated damages on them for previous projects. The waterline project that we're still working with, there will likely be some liquidated damages. So
Thank you.
payment penalties as well for the time delays. We're also documenting our issues that we have with them, and at some point we'll be discussing those with legal for how we proceed with that contractor.
Thank you. I'm willing to give it another go since I know what the difference as far as the money amount, but to put neighborhoods and so on under construction for not knowing how long it should take, all I know is at least 30-40% of the time when I drive those routes, no one's working. So that really frustrates me. So thank you, Daniel. I appreciate it.
Mayor Kling.
Yes.
Daniel, you say there's liquidated damages being assessed.
There
And I
Yes.
assume that you have labor payment and material bonds as far as required, so
Mayor and Councilman Haverfield, yes.
I'm fine with their bid then.
Okay, I believe we had a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Brunner?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Item 522 is an action item to award the bid to Blue Sky Construction and authorize the mayor to sign the contract for the aerial sewer replacement. It's an FY21 project in the amount of $225,316.25, and it is approved in the FY21 budget.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mayor, I just have a question, please. Daniel, why do you think Blue Sky came in so far under what the project estimate was and other bids?
Mayor, Councilman Mucci, Blue Sky has done aerial sewer crossings for us previously, and they were very inventive in how they accomplished the projects. And so when we saw the discrepancy in the bids, we reached out to them and made sure that they were comfortable with their bid. Likely it is I believe on one of the last ones, they ended up kind of building a barge on the creek to do it, to be able to do it more efficiently. And so I believe that's why they were able to come in so low.
Okay, that's great for us, thank you.
Okay, any further questions or discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
523 is an action item to authorize the mayor and the Public Works Director to sign a task order with Keller Associates to provide design, survey, and engineer of record services for the annual irrigation replacement FY21 project in the amount of $104,960, time and materials not to exceed, approved in the FY21 budget.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Item 524 is an action item. This is to authorize the mayor and the Public Works Director to sign a contract for domestic electrical upgrades, FY20 project with Precision Automation Systems in the amount of $165,696, approved in the FY21 budget and reviewed and approved by legal.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Brunner?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Levi? Levi?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
525 is an action item to authorize the mayor and Public Works Director to sign a contract for irrigation electrical upgrades with Precision Automation Systems in the amount of $131,000, approved in the FY21 budget and by legal.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Item 526 is an action item to authorize the mayor and the Public Works Director to sign a professional services agreement, standard terms and conditions, and a task order with Hamilton, Michelson, and Hilty, attorneys at law, for the Nampa Wastewater Program Phase 2 Upgrades Project F Legal Services. This is approved by legal and approved in the 21 budget. And just so everyone knows, when we did make a transition in legal, we gave Mark Hilty the opportunity to retain the work associated with the wastewater treatment plant because he was part of the process the entire time. And so this is a continuation of that because of his knowledge.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
I have a question, Mayor.
Okay, sorry.
So after this is completed, then is this an ongoing thing?
No, it is not. It's, I believe, Tom, was this a 2-year? Anticipated to be approximately 2 years with a maximum cost in that agreement?
That's right.
just strictly related to this program.
I see. And is our, Mr. Lakey going to be involved in overseeing?
Yes.
Okay.
He will be, our current legal Todd will review any recommendations of work, but specific to wastewater in this particular plant and the development.
Okay.
He's going to be lead on that, but subject to review and consultation with our current legal counsel.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. It was moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Item 527 is an action item to authorize the staff to proceed with consultant negotiations for a National Environmental Policy Act Environmental Assessment Agreement for State Highway 45 realignment. So are there any questions for Tom? Tom, go ahead. Why don't
So
you share
moved.
with us?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or did you guys,
I'm just discussion as far as, do we know what the approximate cost of this is going to be? Do we have a projection? For the consultant's fees?
Mayor, Council Brunner, so it's on the second page, the second to last bullet. So the funding is 500,000.
Yeah, I saw that, so that's what we allow, wouldn't we?
Right, we haven't negotiated a price.
Okay, and I
yet.
know this has been in the making for many, many years, and we got to do something different. But you feel confident this is the route to go? When I say route, I'm talking literal route.
Well, that's part of so Mayor, Council Brunner, we've done studies and analysis on several routes, which will be used in this NEPA analysis, but the NEPA is what finalizes the actual route. Because the NEPA looks at all the environmental criteria for the routes that we've already taken a look at. And this is the next step that if we're going to use federal dollars for this project, we have to
So
do this.
are there
It's a little
alternative-
unusual for us to do this, a NEPA on a project in Nampa because a lot of them are exempt from.
So are they just looking at this one route off 7th and Yale and so on, or are there any other alternative routes that
We'll
are going to
look at
be?
the other ones too, which include some going down 7th towards 16th in that direction. There was a couple of different options. So a little bit on NEPA, there's about 10 different criteria that gets looked at. Things like cultural resources, archaeology, hazardous materials, noise, air quality, impacts to housing. And so all these are things we need to document through a NEPA process is to get this, the final route determined. And that's what ITD asked us to do to move this project forward. They have been cooperative in putting a key number in and working with us and reviewing all of the documents and partnering with us. But this is the next step to get it.
Any type of financial contribution from ITD?
So what we have in our impact fee list, we're not on this stage yet, no, but on our impact fee list, we suggest splitting the cost of this project with them once we do get it ready for construction. So, but they haven't given us any dollars yet, and this is the next step to get them to commit to putting it in a program in a year, so.
I'm the last one anyone should be asking about how to direct traffic, but it's not making sense to me, that route. So anyway, I hate to put money into it, but you guys are the pros and I trust you, so. Okay, get ITD to partner though, okay? Okay.
thank you. Are there any other questions or discussion? Okay, we did have a motion and a second. Seeking no further discussion, roll call.
Brunner?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Action item 528 is to authorize the mayor to sign a resolution in the use of proceeds certificate for the initial draw and subsequent draws on the Idaho Department of Environmental Quality Clean Water State Revolving Fund loan. This is approved by Bond Council, which is the legal, and approved in the FY 2020 budget. Is that right, Tom? 2020 budget for our SRF reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Brunner?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Item 529 is an action item. This is the council to approve Councilman Bauer as the MAP Fund trustee to expend the proposed and approved budget funds for contract work to be completed. Are there any questions regarding the MAP fund? And, right, Nick is here, or actually Kirk is here. It's a pretty simple procedural act that we need to do. Are there any questions?
No.
Would you like-
I'll make the motion to allow Jacob to be our signee on the MAP fund.
Okay. And to clarify, the motion is to approve Councilman Bauer as our trust to expend the proposed and approved budget funds and sign contracts for work to be completed.
Yeah, that was my motion, just in short and firm.
Exactly. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I guess he doesn't have a choice, yes or no.
Okay, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
I'd
Brunner?
like to be Henri, but I'll say yes. Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Mucci? Haverfield?
Yes.
Nick, thank you for being here. And Kirk, sorry we didn't meet. You know what? You just waited the whole night for that.
Oh, God. There's no place I'd rather be. It's exciting.
Get a light.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We appreciate it. We also want to thank Councilman Bauer for his work in our map fund and all the improvements we're making. It's pretty exciting. Our people are benefiting greatly from your investment. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you guys for waiting all evening. Okay, item 530. This is the first reading for ordinance, authorize the conveyance. Did we do roll call on that? Yes, we did. Right, thank you, I'm sorry. I was just trying to find my sheet to move on. Action item 530 is the first reading for ordinance authorizing the conveyance of the property to the Nampa Fire District. It's what we had the public hearing on earlier, and the request is to pass it under suspension of rules and with the item 531, which is to authorize a summary of publication for the preceding ordinance.
So moved, Mayor, and which includes 31.
We have to read
You
it.
have to
don't
read
we?
it.
We don't
Yes,
read
we do.
Oh, you
An ordinance of the City Council, of the City of Nampa, Idaho, finding of history, authority, purpose, and intent, and granting and conveying 4 parcels of real property to the Nampa Fire Protection District, and directing the city clerk, and providing an effective date.
Now you can,
make a motion.
yes.
Suspension of rules, which also includes 31 publication.
Second.
She has it second.
I think there were multiple seconds, so thank you. So it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, roll call.
Brunner?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Levi? Levi?
No.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
And our last new business item of the evening is item 532. This is the action item. This is the resolution of the City Council for the City of Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho, implementing the increase in lease rates and rental fees charged by the City of Nampa Airport. So
Yeah, or do
do we need a resolution we don't read, right?
we don't?
So moved. Is there a
You're good.
second? You were right.
Way to
Right
go.
on. You was right. So is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Wow.
Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes. And we have completed the public hearing section. And we are ready to move on to unfinished business. We have one item, 7.1. This is an action item. This is the first reading of ordinance for a vacation of a 5-foot by 100-foot portion of 17th Avenue North, right-of-way for Carolyn Munster. And it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho, vacating a 5-foot by 100-foot portion of 17th Avenue right-of-way along the southern boundary of 119 17th Avenue North, located in the Young's Addition subdivision in the southeast 65-foot of the lots 1 and 2 of Block 14. Said portions of the right-of-way and said easements being more particularly described below in the Nampa in Nampa Canyon County, Idaho, and directing the city engineer to alter the use and area map accordingly, providing for an effective date, providing for severability, and repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, and parts thereof in conflict with.
So moved under suspension.
Is there a second?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes. That concludes our business for our city council meeting. We do not have any executive sessions. I would stand for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And seconded? All in favor? Okay, so.